This podcast, The Good, the Bad and the Vagina, is brought to you by me, Tess Lovely, a retired midwife, birth keeper, mother and sovereign woman. The views shared are my own and those of my guests. If something doesn't resonate, release it. It's not meant to upset or offend. If you feel discomfort, please seek support for your own healing. If you don't like what you hear, don't listen. This space honours truth, freedom and expression, protected under the rights to free speech. Welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Vagina. Let's get started.
Yay!
So, hello and welcome, Clarisse.
Hello.
Very welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Vagina. And it's been some time, this unfolding of this little meeting, because
Yeah.
we recognise how the universe kind of gets in the way. I think I went to a birth, didn't I? And I think then you've moved and
Yeah,
life happens, doesn't it? But
absolutely.
finally, we are
I can't wait for you.
here. And you are my first recording that I'm doing in my new little studio.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, how lovely.
So
How lovely. It's such a beautiful studio as well.
thank you. So I'm just really excited to hear your birth stories. So I watched your podcast that you did with Kemi,
Yes.
and it made my heart sing listening to
Yeah,
your little
really.
stories about how you'd given birth and the experiences you had. So I just want you just to kind of tell me all about it. You've got 2 children, haven't you?
2 now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 little people.
Excellent. So we'll just sort of start with the first when you're like where you got pregnant and just let the conversation unfold from there.
Yeah. So my first was a little bit of a surprise. She came along, well, they were both surprises, but she was a surprise. And when I found out I was pregnant, I just kind of had never really thought about, I knew I wanted kids. I never really thought about, birth. I always knew that was either thinking about like a home birth or like a birth centre birth, but I didn't really know much about birth centres. I hadn't ever really thought much, like you watch your things on the TV. I hadn't thought much about giving birth when you're back, about being in a hospital, like nothing. Just wasn't something I'd looked into or thought much about. So of course I jumped straight into, when you get your positive pregnancy test, you go to the hospital, go to the GP. I had the test and I kind of left it and I was all right and everything was good. But then I had like a little bit of cramping, a little bit of bleeding. And I had previously had wasn't diagnosed, but it was pretty sure it was endometriosis. So I was a little bit worried and I wanted to get checked out and stuff. So I went to the early pregnancy unit, and I got checked and it was all confirmed. So all exciting. And so from there, it wasn't, again, nothing I've really thought about going into the hospital settings and stuff. I hadn't, it's just what you do. So I went in, done all that. Everything was fine. They offered me, like, they were fantastic. They were lovely. They offered me like follow-up tests every couple of weeks just to make sure until we got to the 12-week scan if I wanted them. So we did have them and everything was good. And yeah, everything was fine. So the one thing I will say that I did find really interesting was in those kind of early weeks, obviously we had a lot of stuff going on with them, but it's interesting to look back on how much pressure and involvement they have in the 3rd trimester, but not in the 1st and the 2nd. I felt quite lost, actually.
Yeah.
When I look back on it, I think to myself, like, apart from the fact that I obviously did go into the early pregnancy unit for that, there wasn't really anything else. It was just like, okay, you're pregnant, off you go, and we'll see you later.
And of course, when you're first pregnant, you're so excited and you think, especially with your first, you're the only pregnant woman on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody to celebrate this experience with.
Yeah,
And
and you don't feel 100%, and I felt so sick in that first one, and everything, I was questioning myself constantly. It was a really good thing, but in the end, I wasn't too involved, like that the maternity services don't get involved too much, because that way was how I ended up finding my own way. But I did think at the time, I thought, oh, it's a bit of a shame there isn't a bit more support out there at this point, because then when it comes towards the end, I realised a wave of support that's just overkill for me, it was anyway. But anyway, that's just on reflection. So yeah, I had morning sickness, which was not great, but it was all right, and everything was okay. We went to the 12-week scan, it was all good. It was funny when we went to the 12-week scan because they weighed me, and I was waiting because I'd started reading stuff by this point. I started like kind of looking, like found Kemi's account. So I just having little looks at some things. I had a friend who was planning a home birth, and I kind of wished I could have one, but I was living at my dad's at the time, and I didn't feel that I could plan a home birth. But so that's when I started kind of looking into things a little bit around the 12-week mark. And at the appointment, I was waiting for them to say something about my BMI, and nothing was said. And I thought, all right. I mean, I know it's over the whatever normal ranges or whatever. Nothing was said. And when I looked back on the app, and I realized that they'd actually swapped the numbers around. So luckily they're not like the numbers weren't too far apart, but it meant that my BMI was quite a bit lower, probably about 10 kilograms lower than I actually am, which put me or like less than that. But anyway, which put me in a healthy category. So nothing was said, which I thought was quite funny at the time.
Excellent. Small wins, small wins.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, anyway, so all fine, everything's good. And I kind of, like I say, I had this idea of a home birth, but I didn't, I just didn't feel like I would be comfortable enough. So when I went into the appointments, I think it must have been like 20 week or something like that. I always did find the appointments uncomfortable. I started to realize kind of quite early on that it wasn't, there was like things happening that I wasn't asked, wasn't told. Just this is going to happen. This is what happens. We're going to take your blood. Didn't really. I mean, at the first appointment, they kind of did explain everything, which I guess felt quite overwhelming because there's a lot in your booking appointment. And then for the times afterwards, it was just go in that room. Your blood's going to get taken. Go in that room. Your blood pressure's going to be taken. And then it was, yeah, I didn't really like it. And
Do
I
you
know
feel a
it's
bit powerless in those moments then? A bit like you were
yeah.
just, because I don't think women, when they first go for their booking appointment, recognise it's actually a massive screening interrogation.
Mhm. Yeah.
You have this huge
Yeah.
screening interrogation where you
Yeah.
ask lots of personal questions about who
Mm.
you are, and then you're shimmied from one room to another without any
Yeah.
explanation. You must
Exactly.
be vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it kind of took away some of the excitement almost because we went there really excited. And then we came out like, oh, like, what was that? And why were they asking this? And oh, like, is that maybe, does that have any bearing on what's going to happen? For example, and things like I say went wrong as well. So the BMI was reported incorrectly, which again, I mean, like you say, small wins. That actually was beneficial to me at the time because no one started going on at me about my weight and stuff. But my partners told them like that his brother was born with a club foot, and that was then put into my records.
Oh,
So until like a year later, when actually it was a little while later, I realised, and it took me a while to go back to my GP and say actually that's wrong. It was written on my GP records that I had a brother with a club foot, and I was like, I don't have a brother. I don't have any siblings. So yeah, little things like that as well, which is just just extra silly things that I had to be like, no, I had to go and contact my doctor and be like, that's not me, and take that out of my notes. And it's not just made me feel powerless; it did make me feel a bit distrusting.
yeah.
And again, I could see that it was they were busy, they were the waiting rooms always full. Um, and then it just you get there and it's pee in this pot. Like literally walk into reception, you clock in and you go to the toilet in a pot. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing this for. No one ever told me what I'm peeing in a pot for. So anyway, and then kind of towards the end, I started to just every time I'd go to an appointment, I was like, oh, I hate this. Everything goes on the app now. So they were very at the time. They'd already rolled out the app. This is like 2024. And I wasn't getting any results for anything. Like I'd have to call them and be like, you've taken my blood, and the blood thing just says like nothing, like NA. And I was like, what Oh, well, it was if nothing comes up, assume it's fine. I don't want to assume it's fine. I want to know it's fine. You know, if you're taking my blood, I'd like to know why.
Oh, that sounds really really uncaring, actually. Like you're just on a conveyor belt of stuff. And if you were to complain about something or make a big deal about something, they'd be like on you like a ton of bricks, wouldn't they?
Yeah, yeah, it was, and
Right.
luckily, so when I came to a sort of like the 20 whatever week mark, I was told that I had a low-lying placenta when
Right.
they did the scan. They were fine though. To be honest, the scanner, I saw the same scanner through all three of my scans in my first pregnancy, and she was lovely. Um, and she said, "Don't, it's nothing to worry about. Most of the move, we will offer." She did. I remember her actually saying, "We will offer you another scan." But that is everyone at that hospital gets offered the. Is it 32 weeks? I believe, or
I don't
36.
know because you're in London, aren't you? I'm on the fringes of the universe, and so we're
Different
about
things.
20 years behind you guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't know what's worse, do you?
No.
So they offer a 30-something week scan. And they do that as a routine anyway. So I wasn't just being offered it, um, given it. Basically, it was everybody else. But she said when you come, when you're offered that scan, like you can find out then if it's moved. Most of them do. So I wasn't really worried about that at all. Anyway, I had a lovely pregnancy, to be honest. I really enjoyed being pregnant.
Mm.
I was a little bit worried at the beginning because I had quite a lot of sickness and my eating was not great. I didn't feel like I was eating well enough. And then it took a while, but I did get I actually got onto a mental health midwife through the hospital. Not for anything like bad, but just because it did make me quite anxious where I was quite sick. It wasn't HD, but I was quite sick.
Mm.
And I just started feeling really anxious. I was trying to move at the time as well. So there's just quite a lot going on. I didn't move. Luckily, I wasn't meant to move, but I kind of was trying to. Um, but she was actually really lovely. And I did go to an appointment with her for just, like I say, sort of maybe 20 something weeks. And they kind of assessed me and said, like, we're not worried about you, but if you need anything, we can organise you a little bit of counselling just so you've got someone to talk to. And it was actually her who said to me about the birth centre. And I've been to all these appointments in the main midwife bit, in the main maternity bit. No one said anything to me about birth centres. No one said anything about birth plans. And obviously I know that they don't do your birth plan until you're like, what, 30 odd weeks. And I just think that's mental. Like you're pregnant to give birth to a baby. This is the outcome, is going to be to give birth. So why on earth aren't we thinking about this earlier? Like, why are they not thinking about talking to you about this earlier? I don't get it. I really don't. And I know, like, obviously, when I spoke to Kemi, when she was saying, at the 34 mark of pregnancy, you're already in a really vulnerable state. So you're having this conversation in this vulnerable state. To me, it made sense. And you're excited. You want to talk about it. You want to think about where and how you're going to give birth from the beginning, and you want to prepare.
And actually, there's a criteria that you need to hit to birth in these places. Then giving
Hmm.
you the opportunity to hit that criteria. Like, so
Hmm.
you can think, right, okay, in order to birth at home or in a birth centre, I need to
Hmm.
be fit and healthy, and I need to eat well, and I need to look
Yes.
after myself. But
Yeah.
none of that advice is given to you. You just eat for two because that's the traditional thing that's been told to them, and then they fall out of the category of being able to birth in these places.
Absolutely. And like you say as well, like eating for two is, it's not what you eat, is it? Like it is what you eat, because all right, yeah, you can eat for two, like you might have a bigger steak or a bigger, like a pill portion and half a chicken, but you're not supposed to eat like 10 donuts. And people aren't kind of given that advice either. Um like I said, my eating wasn't great, but I actually lost weight. Well, I lost weight when I was pregnant, and which is fine. I had weight to lose. It wasn't like a worry. But like I say, they got my BMI wrong anyway. And that was another thing that I really felt like the universe was just guiding me to a different way. Because
Mhm.
when I called them up and I said, I've just noticed on my notes, I left it for quite a long time, but I did call them and said, just noticed on my notes that my BMI's wrong. I thought, because if they weigh me again, even this, if they weigh me, like there's me being weighed like somewhat pig that's gonna be cooked,
Yeah.
when you think about it, but I thought at the time, if they weigh me again and my BMI has gone up by a lot, then they're going to be like, oh, okay, you've put a lot of weight on since you were last weighed. So I did call them up nearer to that appointment. And they said to me, okay, well, thank you for letting us know. We'll change that on the system. This is gone off a little bit off track. Sorry. I've got a bit off track from my mental health
No, it's
appointment.
okay. It's all right.
But yeah, so it kind of ties in because, like you say, it's about the pathways that they kind of send you on. Because then when I did call them and tell them this, they then called me back and said, "Oh, okay, we've put it in, and actually this now means that your BMI is over, so we need to send you for a glucose test." And I was like, no. I'd seen quite a lot. I didn't, again, even though I didn't know a lot, I'd seen a lot of people coming out of this, really slim women who are not unhealthy and weren't eating that unhealthy, coming out with high glucose and then suddenly being on this pregnancy diabetes pathway of, needing this, needing extra intervention, having to, and I just thought, no, I don't need it. I know I'm not. I don't eat sweet stuff. I don't have a sweet tooth. I didn't, uh, everything feels fine. I'm not having it. So I did contact them back and said, no, I don't need this. Thank you. It's very kind of you, but I'll cancel the appointment. And or they didn't like it. That was my first kind of thing with with me pushing back on something, because up until then I just coasted through the system. Apart from having the extra stuff with the mental health team, I just kind of did everything normal. And I got to that point and I was like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit, no, I don't want all this now. So I said to them, no, I'm okay, thank you, I'll cancel it. I've done my research. I don't feel like I need it right now, but if I just change my mind, we need to know why your nights. And I said, but first of all, they were like, we strongly advise that you have the glucose test. But then what I'd also found as well from talking to other people around, to people who'd had it previously, like years before, they were all giving different advice as what to do beforehand. So I had some people that were told to fast, some people that were told to do nothing different, and some people that were told not to eat anything sugary. Um, and then other people, and I wasn't even told what it entailed or anything. So I just thought that was in itself was really interesting. And my partner told me that he knew someone and she had been diagnosed with it in her pregnancy, but she'd actually, before she went for the appointment, she had like chocolate cake and hadn't been told, not that, hadn't even thought about it and hadn't been told anything different. So I was just like, well, this doesn't make sense, does it? Like, different hospitals are telling people different things, so it can't be that accurate. So I won't do it. Anyway, they were like, why? We strongly advise. Anyway, I firmly kind of pushed back and said, I just decided I don't want to. You don't need any more of a reason to that.
Well done.
And that's it. And they left me alone. So it must have been really around that time that I went for the kind of another, like, for the mental health meeting. And like I say, the mental health was really lovely. And she was the one that said to me, have you thought about home birth? Because the outcomes are so much better with home birth. And it's just relaxing. And I explained to her, I don't feel comfortable doing that, planning for that. And then she said, well, you must look at the birth centre and really try and aim for that she said, because it's just there and it's not getting used. And kind of, she said, I can take you there quickly to have a look at it now. She said, I really just want you to get it in your brain, your head, like start thinking about that, about where you want to. And this was like 20 something week. So she was really saying, like, she was like, I think, again, I was lucky to get that support because it was a mental health thing and she was trying to support my anxiety.
Yeah.
She was saying, and then I thought to myself, like, all pregnant women have anxieties about giving birth. I wasn't anxious about giving birth, actually. I actually wasn't at all, but just, wanting to know what's going to happen. That's perfectly normal. That's not even really anxiety, is it? That's just having a plan and thinking forward about how some major event's going to go.
But it was not having a plan that was creating the anxiety.
Yeah.
Had you been supported a bit more lovingly and kindly, you wouldn't be having these fears and these concerns and these worries. But it was the fact that you were like,
Exactly.
you're pregnant. We're going to frighten you with
Yeah,
all this information, and we're not going to give you
yeah.
any answers. And by the way, we'll just ignore you if you've got any questions.
Absolutely, literally exactly that, exactly that. And I just was like, oh, right, well, because I could really do with just knowing, what happens. Are you all you've ever seen is what you see on TV. It's not an environment you've been in or seen for any other reason. And obviously, of course, then it's all dramatized and ridiculous. And I mean, I'm never been someone that watched something like One Born Every Minute or anything like that. Like, I never watched that. But, even stuff like there's a massive labour scene in Friends where she's giving birth for like hundreds and hundreds of hours and,
Mhm.
you know, on her back with her legs in stirrups and, things like that. It kind of in your head. And it was so nice that she did say to me, why don't you come and we'll show you it? But again, I was one of a few people who got through to that mental health team.
Mhm.
Um, so it's not something that's offered as a standard to people at all. And as soon as I saw that, she just gave me a really quick little scan around, and she said to me like, "I will give you the contact details of the head of the head of the birth centre ward." And she said, and like, she'll meet you, and you can have a proper look around, and you can talk to her and stuff. And I said, my mum was shocked. My mum was like, why is there no one here? Like, why is no one in labour here? Like, there's 2 rooms. Mum was like, how is there only 2 rooms? And why is no one in labour here? And she was like, it just doesn't happen. She was like, people just don't, they just don't, they all end up in the labour ward. And my mum was like, why? And her response was then the older, fatter, whatever kind of women's fault response, which was obviously, yeah, after being so wonderful and so lovely, she basically was like, well, unfortunately, so many women are obese now. So we've got so many women hitting the high risk category. Women are getting older. So yeah. And then it was like, oh, okay. That there's so many women with gestational diabetes coming through that, they end up hitting that high risk. But we do really recommend that, that you do look at it and try and have a birth centre because they can still have a birth centre birth, but it's just more high risk. And it was just like, oh, okay.
Oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
shocked. Well, actually, I'm not shocked. I am and
Yeah.
I'm not, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean, because I hear
Yeah.
that it's the same story throughout, and it's easier for them to manage everybody in one area than it is to try and house and staff another area. And
Exactly.
it's not about
Yeah.
you and your wonderful
Yeah.
birth journey. It's
Not at all.
about the system that you're involved in.
Yeah.
Shocking.
It is. It's such a shame. And
Mm.
so she was fantastic apart from that. And then we scheduled in a meet with the birth center lead who again, so at this point after I seen it, I was like, right, that's it. There's no way I'm going in a labour ward. It's not gonna happen. Started doing loads of research um into birth centers. I just basically started following loads of people on Instagram. I went down a few rabbit holes and started really learning what I wanted, and I started writing my birth plan from then. Um, and started like doing hypnobirthing, so I really started eating really well and stuff. And yeah, again, everything was quite good. Um, and then I did go to, I don't think anything else went on really in that pregnancy. I did go to birth center. I did meet the lead of the birth center. And again, she just it was that kind of, she had like part of it and some of the understanding. And she said, oh, well, like, I just really love it when women give birth on the birth center. I just want them. And I wish I could go to she said, I even try when women come to check in at their births to I try to go and get there first because before like an obstetrician sees them or whatever, I try to say to them, oh, like, have you thought about the birth center? Or, she said, if they were planning to be on the birth center and they get here, I try to make sure that I'm there because they're on the floor above. And she was like that I go downstairs and she's like, kind of like walk around and I go into women in labor and I say, well, have you thought about coming to the birth center? Like, you're not high risk, you could come to the birth center. She was like, I literally try and get people off the labor ward into the birth center because I know their outcomes better. And I was like, this is lovely, this is fantastic. And then towards the end, she starts coming out with these really questionable things. Like, about pain relief. Have you thought about pain relief? And I said, yeah. I said, I just want gas and air. Like, I don't feel like I'm not scared of the pain of labour. I was not scared of it. There was not that I hadn't been at one point. And I was just like, I think, like for me, my mum had a good labour with me, fairly straightforward. They're only 7 hours. Um, and she's always said, like, it's fine. Like, it was, it was painful, but it's nothing that I, couldn't handle. So I always had that as my kind of role model
Yeah.
of birth. So I didn't have a horror story from young. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm all right. It's fine. And it's just, you must think about your pain management. And I was like, it's all right. I'll have gas now and it'll be painful. That's fine. Part of the process, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, well, I'll go through them with you." And she kind of went through them. She said, "Obviously, there's the epidural, but if you want the epidural, you can't be you'll have to be in the labour ward." So she was like, "But what we can give you here is pethidine." And honestly, she was like, "It's just fantastic painkiller. She was like, if I could just roll out pethidine to every woman that was in labour, I would just think that would just be, I know." And I was just like, oh, okay. I've just told you I don't want pain management. I'm not bothered. And she says that, and then she said, obviously, then you've got your gas and air. And I said to her, well, I've been doing hypnobirthing, and I've got comb. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's great. It's really good. And then she was like, so go away and think about your options, and I was like, yeah,
Doesn't
me.
fill you with hope, does it? And I love the way that she was saying that she goes downstairs and scans everybody and tries to get them in, and yet it's like the Mary Celeste in there, and there's not a single soul in there. And then
Yeah,
at the end of it, she's
it's
feeding you teaspoons of fear that you're not going to be able to manage, and you're going to need pain relief.
it's just such a contradictory. It was
Yeah,
so
mixed
both of those,
messages.
yeah. So both of those, and don't get me wrong. I can see that they're coming at it with their best intentions. I could, but like you say, the mixed messages are just. I kind of both those things. I walked away thinking, well, technically, the first one I walked away thinking, well, technically, I've got a high BMI, and technically, I shouldn't. Should be high risk because I was 34, but I was obviously a little bit older and my first birth and, higher BMI, had said no to the glucose test. And I kind of thought to myself, well, you've kind of, it doesn't bother me, but to someone else who is also has had anxiety, she could have put that in my head.
Yeah.
And then the next lady has said, like, like you say, filling me with fear about the pain. Then she said something else. She said something about how she protects the perineum. And every time I say this, I think of Shelley's video. I mean, protect your perineum. Every time, and it makes me laugh now. But she was literally like that. She was like, so I always, most of the time, like if you're in the pool, we recommend that you get the pool. And she was like, but if you go, just kind of shimmy out the pool a little bit, like with your bottom up, so I can just protect your perineum towards the end.
Why do
Yeah,
midwives try and make every woman's birth about them?
yeah. I mean, why would I want you to touch me? I couldn't think of
If I
anything
would say
worse.
to a woman, when you're about to give birth, close your legs. It'll
Mm.
slow the head coming down, and you can protect your own perineum.
Yeah, it's just honestly, I just think to myself, I just couldn't think of anything worse. And then she made a joke about how on their ward they all joke about how babies are born with her thumbprint in the head because she's pressing on the perineum. And I was like, okay. And she kind of laughed about it and was like, yeah, because I just protect the perineum. I press my thumb just onto your perineum. That's what I'll do. Just as the baby's about to come out because then you won't tear.
I'll tell you what,
Um,
you've got to tell Shelley that. That Shelley would do a really good video on that, wouldn't she?
Honestly,
Probably
every
after.
time I give her a message because honestly, every time I think of her, I think of that video, and I'm like, that's literally what she did. Like, it's like, oh, go away. And so she said that, and then she also spoke about episiotomies. And she basically said how likely it is. Oh, you might need to have a little cut. That one, the little cut.
Little cat.
Yeah, in which case we'll just get you out the pool and you'll just lay down over here, but you can still give birth and it'll all fine, it'll all be natural. And, we just might just feel a little snip, but
Makes me cross my legs when they talk about that. Do you know,
oh,
in my 30-year career, I've only ever done 3 episiotomies.
I mean, and she was talking about it like it's just
Yeah.
completely routine. you
Yeah,
know?
I was just
Oh,
like, it wasn't anything that I ever really needed to do in my career.
no.
So there was the 3 occasions that I did have to do them. I reckon that it did prevent having, an assisted delivery. It was very, very like, the baby had sat there for ages and it wasn't moving. It's something that I only ever really did 3 times.
Yeah, in 30 years, and that's 1 in 10
Mm,
years.
yeah,
That's, and she was kind of talking about it as if it just happens quite a
yeah.
lot, We just did a little cut. 'Cause it's not a little cut, is it? It's
No,
not.
it's
It's,
not. It's through a massive muscle and it's in your bloody vagina.
yeah, with the baby's head
It's
right
like
there
you're
trying
going,
to
"You
come
just
out. Don't
cut a part of
Yeah,
the face here." It's
yeah,
exactly the same. I'll just cut there,
just a little
a
one,
little
just
cut,
snip.
just a little
Uh,
snip. There's a
and
what
it's
do they
something
call
that's
that? A thingy smile, don't they?
is it Chelsea Smile?
Chelsea
No.
smile.
Chelsea Smile, yeah,
Give
yeah.
you a Chelsea smile.
Yeah, you'll be fine, don't worry. No pain relief, no nothing, we're trying to push a baby out of it. You just
Oh my god.
So anyway, so I came away from that. I still was like, I do really like the environment. I love the lights. I love the pool. It's all relaxing. And she said, you can do this, you can do that. So I was planning for this. I did so much research, did so much reading. I um birth ball like to at home so that I could relax and everything. I did. Like, I wasn't trying to, and I relaxed. I just made my 3rd trimester just so relaxing as possible. I wasn't trying to force anything. I wasn't trying to, I tried to go out. I read something the other day which said, like, make plans on your due date because you're probably going to be able to keep them. Like, make a nice little plan on your due date rather than thinking about it. And that's exactly what I did. Like, came to my due date, sort of came and went, and I was fortunate in that I was quite small. I did carry quite small. I actually, uh, funnily enough, when I did go to that last 3rd scan, I was quite worried because I was carrying quite small, and I thought, oh, they're going to say something. They're going to come up with the small baby, but because of this placenta thing, I wanted to. Um, I was actually planning to go there and say, I just want you to look at the placenta. I don't actually want you to measure or anything else. But it was the same lady that I'd had at the previous 2. And I thought, "Do you know what? Just it's fine. Let's check it. Let's check everything anyway." So she did it and she said, like, size wise, all on track, everything's fine. Placenta's moved, you're all good. So I was really happy. And then I come towards the end and I just wanted to be, and like I say, I've been watching loads of videos from people and I'd said something, saw something from Kemi that said, like, literally switch your phone off, like, stop letting them, like, just, if you're feeling like they're starting to get a little bit pressuring, those appointments ramp up so much. And I had
Mm,
chosen to go to a hospital, which was slightly further. We have one local, but it's twinned with one that's just a little bit further out. And I wanted to go to the one that's further out. And as it got to the end, I thought, I don't want to travel. Like, pregnant. I don't want to be getting on a bus and going there and I don't need it. I'm fine. Actually, if anything, I probably needed the support more earlier. And now I'm here. The baby's going to come out. I'm prepared. I'm planned. I don't need any more.
mm.
Um, so I kind of called and said, like, if I come to this appointment, like, can I just speak to a midwife? I don't want any of the tests. They didn't like it. Another one they didn't like. Or I'm
Wow.
not sure because, reception was like, I'm not sure. We do the tests for a reason. We do all of the tests for a reason. And I said, no, I understand. I said, I haven't had one thing wrong at the tests that I've been at. So I'd rather just come and chat to a midwife. I don't feel like I need to have blood taken again. I don't like my blood pressure being taken anywhere, never have. And I don't need to pee in a pot for anything. If I had an infection, I'd know about it.
What?
um, and I yeah, so she was a bit funny about that. And that was when I just thought, what, I'm gonna stop coming. I don't need these appointments anymore.
No.
So I told them. Oh, no, first of all, they doorstepped me because I missed an appointment. I didn't purposefully miss it. I had got the dates muddled up and I had cancelled. I think I had 2 and I'd cancelled one and I'd forgotten to cancel the other or something. I had the mental health midwives ringing me to see what was going on. It's just all over the space of like a day. It wasn't, I think it was the Monday afternoon I missed the appointment and someone turned up my house on Tuesday.
Oh my god. The
Yeah.
FBI.
Yeah, literally knocked on the door. funnily, because I was at my mum's, but I still had my address down as my mum's. So they turned up to my mum's door, yeah, and then wrote on a little scrawly piece of paper that they'd ripped out of their diary, wrote all the information, like, "You've missed an appointment, and please can you call us, blah, 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 blah," and just put it through the door. And I was just like, what if I didn't what if there's some safeguarding stuff going on and you've just put that through my door for anyone to read? Like,
They're just tick boxing. That's all they're doing.
yeah,
They can tick
yeah,
boxing, and they're,
yeah,
so long as their boxes get ticks, what happens
yeah,
behind that is they're not really that interested.
yeah, yeah,
You didn't show for an appointment, you cancelled one, you didn't show. So their next procedure is that they try and ring you, and if they can't get hold of you, they'll come to your door. And
yeah,
then if you're not in, they'll leave a note, and then
yeah.
they have to follow that up. Did you call them after that?
I did. I called them up. I actually sent an email because I don't like to call people because I always think if you're doing that, like, I don't trust what you're going to say to me on the phone. I could have literally just been unwell. Like, it was literally one day. Like, it was
Mm.
the day before or the afternoon, and by the morning they were kind of at the door. So I messaged and I just said, I sent an email and I said, I'm really grateful for you following up. I'm sorry I didn't cancel the appointment I thought I had. Um, but I don't need any more appointments at this time until till after the due date. Because I feel really good, and I am, I've spoken to, because at this point as well, I'd actually met and was in contact with the head of the birth center. I was like in text con. Oh yeah, God, that's the other thing she said to me. Oh, at the appointment, she said, "So when you get to 37 weeks, start to get a bit uncomfortable, just give myself or the other midwife a text and come in, we'll give you a little sweet, because that way you're a lot less likely to have an induction
37 weeks.
if you're getting a bit uncomfortable."
If you're getting a bit isn't pregnancy a bit uncomfortable? I mean, my
Yeah.
11 pounds. I can't start carrying an 11-pound baby around. Well, I didn't go enough stretch and sweep. I just went, "Oh, this is what happens when you're pregnant."
Now I need to rest because that's what you should be doing. That's it.
I'm listening to my body.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah. So
god.
that was the other thing that she said as well. And that just stuck with me. And I just, why would I want that? I don't need to, why do I want to come in and have you stick your fingers and rummage around in me
Or
just
Shelley
because?
says, "Finger do you want to
Yeah,
finger in?"
yeah, yeah. I just honestly think it's bizarre. The
Mm.
obsession and like so I'd also texted her towards the end, and I was in contact, stayed in contact with her. I kept it all, good and stuff. And
Mm.
I said to her, I think I must have been about 34 weeks. Said, "Would you like me to send you a copy of my birth plan so you've got it ahead of time?" I was like, she's got like one woman a week giving birth in there, and she's got plenty of time to look at my birth plan. "No, it's okay. Just bring it on the day." I was like, "I can email you a copy."
Wow. Okay.
"Yeah, no, it's fine. Just bring it on the day."
That made you
And I
feel
was like,
really loved and wanted and
yeah,
didn't it?
yeah.
And interested in your birthing journey.
Exactly. And
Mm.
I just thought, like, I kind of had this weird, like, for me, like, it's a strange way to compare it, but I used to be a special needs teacher for years.
Mm.
And for me, like, you do so much planning, you do so much preparation that you're going to have someone's child in your care, or you're going to have someone in your care, and you want to know everything about them before
Mm.
they come into your class, before they're going to be in your environment. So you can, tailor your care to them. That's
Mm.
literally the job. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, surely you're going to want to know then, because you have very few women coming through there. You've told me that yourself. You've got time on your hands. I know obviously she gets called to the labour hall quite a lot, but she's got time to be like sharking around trying to find people to bring in. And I'm literally saying, I am doing everything I can to give birth in the birth centre. Would you like to have a bit of time with my birth plan so that you and your staff can familiarise yourself with what I want? And you're saying, don't worry about it.
Oh my
Like,
god.
and I just thought, I just kind of remember thinking to myself, this is strange, isn't it? Like,
Wow.
why wouldn't you want to see it? Like, and I obviously had loads of stuff on, it was all no VEs, no this, no that, no, don't do this. But anyway, um, didn't matter, because then I came up to my duty, had all of that, told them I didn't want any more appointments, told them I didn't need to be contacted, and I would contact them when it came to when I next felt that I needed to have any care, because I'm doing really well, so don't worry about me. Um, and they were all right with that. They actually did accept that quite well. And it was fun. I think on just around the due date, I was still going out doing stuff. I was quite, like I say, carried quite small. I felt really good. Went out with my mum, went past the due date, and then I was only 3 days past, but I went out with my mum for bite to eat. And on the way home, I kind of started feeling a bit twingy, and had pelvic girdle pain. So I had like a lot of coccyx pain and like low down pain. Again, even that I feel like I wasn't really helped with that at all. Like they just went, "Oh, here's a physio, an online physio," which happens once in the whole of the pregnancy,
Yeah.
and didn't address what I asked at all. Um, she kind of said, "Oh, yeah, coccyx pain is quite, it was like a Zoom," and I went on it, and I had to wait like all the way through while she talked about stuff that's completely irrelevant to me, and because it wasn't pelvic girdle, it was different. It was like at the back, like really low down in the sort of
Mm.
sacrum area, and I kind of said, I get that. I've got that. It's not in the pelvis, it's at the back. And she kind of didn't give me anything. And that was it. That was,
Outside my coccyx.
yeah, yeah, literally. There wasn't, they didn't really. And that's what I mean. So I found it so much that when you're asking for something and when you actually need it, it's not there. But
Mm.
then there's all of this. It's like you say, it's a box ticking exercises, isn't it?
Mm.
All of this stuff that you don't want and don't maybe need and aren't asking for, they're pushing on you. But then anything that you do want and you do need is completely not personalized or just ignored, and it's just like, well, okay, all right. Um, but yeah, so I came to the date, and me and mum were out, and then started feeling this really low down pressure. It was so painful, and I was like, "Oh, okay." But I had like started to lose, I think, the mucus plug a little bit, and I started thinking, "All right, maybe I've got." Everyone had said to me, "Your first birth, you've got plenty of time. Probably going to be slow, blah blah blah." So I went to bed, had a bath, went to bed, and I was 3 days past due date again. So I kind of, but because I was quite small, I thought she might be a bit late. Um, and we late. um,
The arbitrary date that they gave you.
exactly, exactly. I've been trying really hard not to take any notes of it either. So then I got up, and it was like, I think I went to bed at like 11 after having a bath, and I got up at 1, and the pain had like started then. It really started, and I felt like I need the toilet. I just need poo.
You do.
Again, like I thought I need poo, went to the toilet, and then I didn't feel like I'd finished. I just kept thinking, "Oh, this isn't finished, and I need to go again." So I just kept going back to the toilet, weeing, doing little bits of wee. And that's when I think it got to about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "This might be it." Like, I was like losing bits of mucus plug, and I was like, "Okay, I think this is it." Again, because I've been told this standardized idea of a first birth, you've got ages. Just keep trying to go back to bed. Kept trying to go back to bed. It's back in pain. Okay, right, back to the toilet, and luckily my bedroom's right next to the bathroom, so just kept going back in there and sitting on the toilet, blue light blocking glasses on, and had my hypnobirthing in. Um, and I'm a very private person by nature, I always have been. So for me, I didn't want didn't need to share that with anyone at that point. Um, and I think that's actually what helped so much
Yeah.
was I didn't need anyone. It was the dead of the night. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. No one had heard me. No one was aware that I was up, and it was just so peaceful. Like I was in the bathroom with my cat, this cat. Here he is here.
Oh, the
Little
birthing. Yeah.
monster. Here he is. Yeah, he's my birthing cat. He was my birth
Your
partner.
birth heart.
He was literally, didn't leave my side. He was like on my head while I'm sitting on the toilet, and I just stayed there as comfortably, on and off, going back to bed, going back. And then it got to about 20 to 4. And I was like, right, okay, it's been like 2 hours this now. I'm pretty sure it's definitely happening, but no waters are broken or anything. So I woke my partner up. We called the hospital, and she said, "Have your waters gone?" I said, "No." She went, "Okay, and how like far apart are the contractions?" I said, "Not very. They were coming quite thick and fast by this point." Um, and she said, "Okay, well, it is your first birth and your waters haven't broken, so you've probably got quite a while. So if you can just keep labouring on at home, do you feel like you can labour on at home for a bit longer?" I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's not that horrendous. Probably can, but they were quite. I mean, I wasn't timing them at all. Um, but I would say it was probably at least every minute, probably more. Yeah, and I did say that to
Did you
her.
ever say, what do you want? What do you
Yeah,
feel? How are you feeling about this? Do you want to be
You
assessed?
don't think she did, actually. I don't think she did. She said she did on the second phone call, but in the first phone call, she didn't. And we ended up calling back about 45 minutes later. And I said, "It's really ramped up. They're really close together. It's kind of painful." And she went, "Do you feel like you need to come in?" And I went, "Yes." That's when she said, "Do you feel like you need to come in?" I said, "Yes." But this again, like this is where it all could have, when I think about it, it all could have gone really deviated off from what I wanted, because had I have gone at this point and got there, I wouldn't have been able to advocate my plans at all. Because I was at that point, and I
Mm.
know that they suggest that you don't come in until you're as close as possible. But had I have got there and someone would have said you need to have a VE, and I was absolutely I don't need them, I don't want them. I don't need VEs, I don't want any. But had that have happened, I probably would have got there in a rush in the early hours of the morning, and someone said to me, "You need to have one." I probably would have just gone, "Yeah, go on then." But
Mm.
because I was that far, I wasn't there. I wasn't there anymore. So I think when I look back on that, I do think kind of it's. I mean, that I don't know. I just think about it and I think, oh, I'm so glad it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Um, because that's how they can obviously like kind of catch you, isn't it? And so yeah. Anyway, so I said, "Yeah, I think I need to come in now." And then she was listening to me and she said, "Okay, just get her in anything. Sounds like she needs to get here like as soon as possible. You're not going to be able to get all the way to the further hospital. You're going to have to go to your closest one." Um, so which was not what I'd planned for, prepared for at all.
Did they
So
have
I'm in,
at the nearer one?
there was, it's actually it's actually a pretty good birth center. It's
Like,
one of the best birth center statistics I've actually seen. Um, but I wasn't planned for it. I hadn't prepared for it. So, and I didn't want to be
yeah.
at that hospital. But anyway, she said, "Oh, you can go to the birthing centre there. I'll call them and they'll be ready for you." Um, and then she was like, and I was like, "I can't move. I can't move." I was on a birth ball in the bathroom. I was like, "I can't move." She's like, "Oh, someone's going to have to get your shoes on you then." So my mum's running around. I've called my mum, who lived down the road, and luckily she'd seen my message and she'd come down. So she's running around trying to look for some shoes for me and a jacket for me. I literally am going, I can't get myself dressed. There's no way I can't put, like, "Okay, let's just bung you in this. We'll get you in the car." And then she's like, "Can you get to the car?" I was like, "No." She's like, "We're going to have to call an ambulance. You're going to have to get in an ambulance." So we're gonna have to ambulance you there, right? So, so she says, "We'll call you an ambulance and they'll get you there." And then my waters still haven't broken at this point. So she's, "Have your waters broken?" And I was like, "No." And I think so she's, because my waters haven't broken, she's still trying to get me into the hospital. She was just so desperate to get me to this hospital. And at this point, it was quite clear this baby's coming very soon. Probably just like, let's get on with it where we
Did
are.
you not
And
think to send a midwife?
no.
It didn't suggest that at all.
Well, they have a home birth team. They didn't suggest to send a midwife until after she was born.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And they have got a home birth team and there was a midwife. The head of the home birth team was on call. Um, but yeah, didn't think to call her. I know,
It's a bit
exactly.
worrying, isn't it? It's like the
Mm,
blind leading the blind really, isn't it?
yeah,
Know
yeah.
what to do with this. It's outside of our normal.
Yeah, and they really didn't know. She really did. She was lovely, bless her. But
Mm.
so my mum calls the ambulance and the ambulance person on the phone says that she has to stay on the phone. Um, I was just having a great time. Not a great time, I was in the zone. I'm in my own place, I was in the bathroom, I had my birthing ball. Everyone's panicking around me, and I'm just giving birth, basically. uh,
Amazing.
yeah, and I just kind of got cut towards, and then my partner was on the phone to the midwife still, and then I was still going between the birth ball and the toilet. I went on the toilet and my waters broke. And she was like, "Can you look at your waters? Are they murky? Are they blah, blah, blah?" I said, "No, they're clear, they're fine." And that was but it was as soon as my waters broke that it was just, like
Baby's
she was just
coming.
coming. She was coming. And I kind of was, again though, and this is why I wasn't sure, and this is why I think they weren't sure, is because the contractions, I'd never had any contractions in my belly. Everything was just pressure, low, low down. Nothing really was in my tummy at all. I just That's just the way I laboured.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason that she didn't think that I was in strong labour when I was on the phone, was because she said, "Where can you feel it?" And I said, "I can't." "Have you got contractions all across your tummy?" And I said, "No, I haven't at all." She was like, "Oh, okay, you probably got a bit longer." And because it was outside of that norm, to her, it wasn't labour to her.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, so then she said to me, "Okay, you sounded like you're really ramping up. I think it's a good idea if you go from the bathroom into your bedroom and get on the bed." She said, "Just get on the bed however you feel comfortable. If you want to go on all fours, just go on all fours. But like, I think it'd be a good idea if you're in a bed so that baby's got a soft landing if baby comes out rather than in the toilet." I mean, I did, and it was fine. But then my mum had the operator from the ambulance service on the phone, and he's going, "Tell her to get on the bed and lay on her back. She must lay in the middle of the bed in on her back." Got on the bed and I was like, "No, no, I'm not doing that." And my mum's going, oh, I said to my mum, and at that point I said to my mum, "You need to go out of the room with this man on the phone. I can't listen to him anymore. Take him out the room. Baby's about to come out. I don't need to hear him."
Oh,
So my mum went out, took the phone, and the midwife said, like, if you're I was on all fours, and then she said something about laying on my side for no, she said lay on your side. So I went in, I laid on my side, and that was when I just went, "No, I can't." And I just got up on all fours. And she just came out.
well,
That was it. She literally went in. Sorry, I woke up to what I would say was the beginning of the labour at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and she was born at 5:40 something.
wow.
Yeah, so
It-
4 hours.
uh, I mean, it sounds like a really intense, but a really brilliant labour, but it does sound like the carnage was definitely outside of you, and inside of you, you had this warrior woman centered power going on.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing, like
yeah.
overwhelmingly hearing. Like everybody else was not coping with what was going on, and you were like, well, "I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to
Yeah,
do
I
this."
just did. I literally did. It took over. And I think I'm a massive believer in like, the universe, and what's meant to happen will happen. And my baby girl is an incredibly strong-willed little girl. And she did not want to be born in a birth center or a labor ward. She wanted to be born at home. So she said, "I'm coming in 4 hours and you're not going to get anywhere close to a hospital because I want to be born here." And my body, obviously, on a huge level, did not want to go to that hospital either. So it was like, "Okay, let's do this. We can do it." And we just did it. Like,
Yeah.
and it didn't mean like, I didn't need to have any of that planning and that, this and that. But when it came to it and it started, I was just like, "Okay, this is it." Like, I went out of my head and my body just did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Like, it was amazing. It was the most wonderful labor. Like, she just, yeah, it hurt like in hell. Like, it hurts. It hurt. It was painful. I was screaming. I was loud. Like,
You're having a whole human coming out of your vagina.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna smart a little bit, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and frigging, sugarcoat that in a million years. Like, it hurts. It's painful. You do feel like you're cracking in two, and but you get over it. Like, it is not, and I know it was a short labor, but it was very intense.
Mm.
Like, for those 4 hours, it was very, very. There was no build up. There was no, the contractions didn't I don't even remember the contractions going from, "Here's a little one," or "Here's a little bit more," or "Here's one, bam, here's labour." And my partner kind of was at the end, and he caught her because the midwife was on the phone kind of talking him through it. And as soon as she came out, she cried, so it was all good. And I literally just picked her up and put her straight on me. And then I let her, like, from my belly, she kind of lay there, and then she did the little crawl up to my breast. All of this time, my mum's been on the phone to the operator. The ambulance still has not appeared.
Mhm.
So this was a good 40 minutes, and I have a hospital there.
Oh,
And they didn't appear. But when they did, there was 3 ambulances,
they're like
8 people at the door.
they're like they're like buses, aren't they? They all arrive at
Mhm.
once. They leave your door open, and they bring in this energy that's just not required in that room. And like you'd have gone from this experience where all this carnage is happening out there, and you're staying centered. Can I just say as well about your partner receiving your baby in his hands? There's a mechanism when that happens, that the hormones that you release on when that baby lands in his hands and he receives it, it ignites a hormone level inside of him that gives him a gentle protection. So it really ignites their protective, that masculine protective energy, but it ignites it in a really soft and loving way. So, like how a lot of men are quite aggressive in their protection,
Yeah.
it eradicates that out of their system
Yeah.
and just makes them this really loving, strong, protective male. I bet you've probably seen a big change in him in that sense, that he still has this huge protective desire to protect his family. He has gentler, authoritarian, "No, don't mess with my family," rather than, "Don't mess with my family." It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
"Mess
yeah,
with my family."
yeah,
Man, I'd love that.
yeah, absolutely.
And then the
Yeah,
ambulance
absolutely.
crew come in and go, "Oh, gotta leave the door open."
Yeah, yeah, literally. They came and they descended, and my poor dad, bless him, he just so when she was first born as well, my mum was still on the phone to the operator because they hadn't turned up, and he's going, um, what did he say? Oh, you need to go and find a clean shoelace to tie the umbilical cord as soon as you can. So my dad, bless him, was going around looking at all his pairs of shoes. My dad had been out the night before, a bit of a skinful, so he was still half cut, running around trying to find a clean shoelace in all his new pairs of shoes. He's got a couple of new pairs, and anyway, and I'm just there with this, just like looking at this baby, just like we just basically both me and my partner just like in bed looking at her and just yeah, just happy, just like she was perfect. She was just looking, she was alert, she was, just she was just perfect. She was perfect. And
Mhm.
then she breastfed really quickly. She did the little crawl, everything perfect. And I was fine. I was absolutely fine. I was coherent. I was awake. Felt fine. I didn't feel anything. Like, you don't when you first come out, you don't feel not even aware. And so then they came and I said, they don't need to come in the room right now. We're having our bonding period. I'm absolutely fine. I do not need 8 people in this tiny room.
Well done.
Um, so they were like, she needs a hat on. She needs a hat. Give my mum a hat. Peering around the door, trying to give a hat through the door. And I said, she doesn't need a hat. It's fine. She's fine. She's all right.
Good
The
job
heating's
somebody
on.
knew what was going on.
I mean, honestly, and this is where it is important to do your preparation and know it yourself because you don't know when you're going to need it.
Mhm.
And this was, like I say, I didn't really need it as much during the labor, but afterwards, hell, I did need it. I needed to have that. Um, and I said, no, she doesn't need a hat. She's fine. It's April. We've got the heating on. Like, it's warm. We're good. The sun's out. We're absolutely fine. So they tried that and then they said, you need to come to hospital with us. You both need to go to hospital. But you look like you're fine. You look like you travel together. So we won't need to bring you in separate ambulances, but you do need to come to hospital. And I said, I'm not coming to hospital. I don't need to go to hospital. Well, have you birthed the placenta yet? No, haven't moved yet. So, no. Oh, okay, but we need to take you to hospital because it's like, 40 minutes and you haven't had birth placenta, so you need to go and have it managed. And I said, no, I don't. You said, you'll be fine. They'll just give you an injection, but you need to go and do this in hospital. And I said, no, I don't. It's fine. Can you keep them all outside? I don't want anyone coming into my birth space. We're all good. We're going to have an hour sitting here at least until anything. But you need to be checked over by a midwife because you've just given birth. Yeah, okay, well, I know, but I'm fine. I'm telling you, I'm fine. And she's fine. Okay, but her airways need to be checked. No, she's breathing. She's feeding, so she's breathing. um, and then they were like, finally, someone kind of sensible came and knocked at the door and said, "Are you okay?" Oh, someone else came bursting in at one point and said, "We need to turn the light on." I said, "No, we don't need a light on." And that was when I said, I was like, "No, like we don't need a light on. Please, can you just give us a bit longer?" Anyway, so she's like feeding, you're going to interrupt her first feed. Can you just wait till she's finished her first feed? And then, you know, anyway, I got a sensible woman come to the door and she said, do you mind if I come in? Um, she said, like, just to check you both over. She said, I'll just do it visible. She said, I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to touch your baby. I'm just going to have a quick look at the scene just to see where we go from here. I said, that's fine. So she came in, she agreed there wasn't a lot of blood, like she wasn't worried about blood loss. She looked at me, she said, you're clearly fine. She said, do you mind just like she said, I don't want to look at you. She said, but if you're covered, can I just check around you, like on the bed, like if you just remove your cover? So she just kind of had a little look and looked at my daughter, and then she said, like, do you mind if I just turn the light on for like 1 second, really quickly, just really quick, just cover your belly. And I was like, go on then 1 second. So she literally did flick it on, looked and then closed, and she went, right, okay. She said, you don't need to go to hospital. She said, but she said, we would like you to be checked over. Finally, anyway, my partner's on the phone to the midwife again, the original one. And she finally turned around and said, okay, what we can do, if you really don't want to go to hospital, we can call the home birth midwife. This was about maybe 8:15 in the morning. So maybe half sevenish. And my daughter was born at like 10 to 6. It's like over an hour of them trying to put hats on, turn lights on, look at things, do things, persuade me to go to hospital. Anyway, the home birth midwife turned up and everything was amazing. And that was it. That was it.
Honestly, the ambulance crew are not really, I think they get about 5 shifts on the delivery suite. And actually, they're scared. A lot
Mhm.
of people are scared about birth. And BBAs to me, which is what you had, a born before
Mhm.
arrival, they're not scary because if a baby comes that quick, they're generally in a really good condition. And actually, we
Yep.
need to be celebrating this
Yeah.
amazing thing that you have managed
Yeah.
to do without any, it's still making the birth about everything else other than the woman and the baby.
Yeah.
It's all
It
about the
was.
health professionals. It drives me
Yeah.
insane, absolutely insane.
It's so true. It really is. It is, and I haven't really thought about it that way, but it is. It wasn't about us. Like, and I was just sitting there like, look at this baby. She's
Oh,
amazing. She
yeah.
just came out. Like she's like, look at her. Like, and they're just like, put a hat on her. And I was like, "God, hey, with your hats. And then they were panicking obviously about the placenta, but I was just, no, I haven't moved. I expect when I move something will happen, and otherwise I'm fine. So then when the midwife came, she said exactly that. She said, came in, she said, have you birthed the placenta yet? And I said, no. And she went, that's fine. When you get up, it probably will. Just let me know when you're ready. She said, I'll do a little bit cleaning. I'll clean up a little bit and, get you some, because obviously everyone was in shock. Like, it was a surprise. So everyone like, my parents were in shock, my partner's in shock, everyone's kind of in shock, and no one was really thinking, "All right, we need to get you some toast," or not toast, but, we need to get you
Yeah.
something to eat. We need to do this. We need to. So she just came and did that, she just came and did all those little pickup bits, and then she said, "Do you want to try and, like, go to the toilet if you haven't been to the toilet yet? Might be a good idea to get up." So we waddled to the bathroom and she got the bowl and put it in the toilet and the placenta came out. And that
Ta-da!
was that. Yeah. And then she said, "Oh, if you thought what you're going to do with the placenta," I said, "No, I know I'm going to keep it, but I don't know what to do with it yet." She said, "Why don't you make a smoothie? Let's get you some smoothies going." So she
Yay!
just cleaned and cut the placenta and then she made me the first smoothie and then that was it. And then she
Yeah.
was like, "Right, you're all fine. I'm going to leave you." That's good. And
Brilliant.
then she said, like, "Do you want to be under our care now? Like, or do you want to," she was like, "I'm assuming looking at you, you probably don't fancy going to the hospital for the rest of your appointments." And I was like, "Nope." So then I had everything under the home birth team. And I just wish, to be honest, that I had just done that in the first place. Like, you know, and I've read it since quite a few times, even if you don't think you will have home birth team, just say you're going to have a home birth. If you don't feel confident having one, just maybe say you are going to. You get all your appointments at home.
You do. I know it's different around different areas and things like
Yeah,
that, but it is definitely more personalised when you are being cared for by a midwife. But
yeah,
interesting that with your first pregnancy, you automatically assumed going to a bigger hospital further away was the right thing to do.
yeah,
And actually, a smaller hospital with a home birth team nearer would have
yeah,
probably been. But it's the rumours that go around associated with hospitals, isn't it?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I think the local hospital to me, because the home birth team actually cover both those hospitals, which is really
Mm,
nice as well.
yeah.
So she was very local. But the hospital closer to me, that you say is like the rumors around things is I was born there. And my after post birth was not great. And So I had that always in my head.
Yeah.
And also that generally doesn't have a great reputation as a hospital in general,
Yeah.
but their birth centre statistics are actually a lot better
Yeah.
than the other one. So that you just what you assume, like you say, isn't always right.
And also
Um,
there's the social conditioning that we now think that we have to have a baby, our first baby in hospital. It's
yeah,
such a pressure for women, and
yeah,
then so then you're going to go, well, I want to go to that hospital because I think it's got a bit of a better reputation, but their
yeah,
birth centre's never used. They don't really push for that because they're very hospital orientated. And then you
yeah.
see how, I mean, your birth, fortunately for you, went down a really brilliant pathway. And like you say, the universe had a different idea
Oh,
for your
definitely.
journey.
Yeah.
And absolutely, thank God it did. And thank
Yes.
goodness as well that you are quite a strong warrior woman who kind of done her reading and research. Because
I have
had
to.
that scenario unfolded for somebody else, it would have been sheer panic stations
It would have been
for
awful.
everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and they would have been blue lighted to hospital for absolutely nothing. It's
Yeah,
not, and then potentially they could have retained their placenta,
yeah,
and potentially might have had, hemorrhage because of that. And because I was just and to be honest, I probably didn't give birth to the placenta because they were all there.
yeah,
As soon as they went, and I had someone who actually went, "It's fine,
yeah,
don't worry, it will come." Like, she was like, "It's fine. Doesn't matter." Then it came.
yeah,
And she just, gave me that really thingy comfortable, because obviously I was just sat comfortable with the baby. I actually didn't it stopped me from wanting to get up and go to the toilet because there was all these people in my home. I didn't need the loo anyway at that time, but like it didn't make me want to get up because I felt like if I got left this cocoon of my bed, something was going to happen. And I just was in my room with my lighting, my curtains closed, my bed clothes. And if I moved out of that, I didn't feel safe.
yeah,
So actually, the placenta wouldn't come, would it? It is
yeah,
not going to happen. And it wasn't until someone actually came in and made me feel that, you're fine, but this is what we could try if you want to. Probably be a good idea to have a wee if you might need one. And then it just happened. And
yeah,
she was like, "It's fine, that's what happens." And she even laughed because they'd left not one, not two, but 3 hats. They left 3 hats when they left. And she was like, do you need some cleaning mitts? Any cleaning mitts? Here, like, have a cleaning mitt, because that's all they're useful for. Just like, you don't need that.
I love
Honestly.
her.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Mm,
Just amazing. But yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So quite a big story for your first one then. You wasn't expecting that, was you?
No.
No. So
Really wasn't. But
heading into
I'm
your
so glad.
second pregnancy, then you were well armed, weren't you, for what you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, it was another surprise. It wasn't
Mm,
planned. It just, popped up. We found out on holiday, which was lovely. But yeah, I was well prepared for it, and I was like absolutely homebirth, no questions. Still carried on doing loads of reading and research in between as well. So I've kind of just found it, like, I'm just fascinated. And if anything, that gave me even more of a love and a fascination for like birth, and so I kind of was really prepared, really excited. And now it was like I was a completely different person going into it, because now I knew it so much more. I was very much like, I'm going to pick and choose my care this time. And again, obviously I had a little taste of it in the first pregnancy, but that came with its different, its other challenges, because I was like, personally probably would have gone with wild pregnancy. Um, but I think my partner definitely wouldn't be ready for that. And with having a little one as well, I just kind of was like, "Do you know what? I don't mind. I can pick and choose. I know what my rights are now, so
mm,
I don't have to go with everything." And because we had such a wonderful home birth team before, I trusted them, so I went straight to them when we found out I was pregnant. I still had a number, so I just text her. I didn't go to the hospital, I just gave her a text. And she was so happy, she was so pleased. And she was like, she was like, I can do your booking appointment, but I can't do it without you going through the formal, system. So you go and do it online. She was like, but text me as soon as you've done it, and I'll just grab it. She was like, I'll literally just grab it, and then I will do everything. Um, but so I did do it. I did text her, and somehow hit a wall before she got to her, and that was because why was it? Something to do with because I didn't know my due date. They couldn't figure out my due date because I was fully exclusively breastfeeding when I fell pregnant. And so I didn't know dates. So they could not figure out dates, and that was very upsetting for them.
Well, you didn't fit into the little conveyor belt of tick boxing thing. There
No,
was a
no.
box
So
unticked. That
yes,
last
yeah,
menstrual period date unticked.
exactly.
Estimated due date unticked.
Yes. So they couldn't pass me to the home birth team.
And then the system went, does not commute, does not commute.
Exactly. And I called them and I told them that. And I said, oh, she said, so when was your last period? I said, I didn't have one. I'm breastfeeding. Okay, well, I'm not sure what to put. And I said, well, I've already spoken to the home birth team. I said, and she said she's going to do my booking appointment at home. And she was like, oh, 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 okay, right. Well, really, in this situation, we probably need you to come in and do your booking appointment. And I was like, why? What situation? I'm pregnant, like, I'm gonna have home birth, and why do you need to? What can you do in the hospital that the home birth midwife can do, can't do like exactly the same? So anyway, kind of managed to wrangle that, and she came out, and I had all my appointments at home. Everything was
No.
wonderful. I chose everything that I wanted, didn't want. Any appointments I didn't want, I didn't have. Like, I just, some of them feel quite unnecessary if you've already been checked for this, that, and the other. Just every time she came to, or I usually had the same one, who was the one who came after my birth. Most of the time had her pretty much. Every time she came, everything was, would you like this? This is the options available to you for this appointment. Would you like this test? Would you like that test? Do you fancy having this one today? So it was great. I was pregnant and it was good. Got to the 20-week test, the 20-week scan. That was pretty horrible, actually. I went in. There was a student in there and they hadn't told me anything. They didn't ask anything. These were the only, so it's obviously really different because I wasn't on the conveyor belt. So the only times I did go to the hospital were for scans, and I could really feel the difference in the contrast, because obviously in the first one didn't have a contrast, but in this one I did, and I didn't have the same person who did the scans in the first one for this. And yeah, I had like a student, and I'm nothing against students at all. I know they need to learn, but I would like to be consulted, maybe even told your appointment might be a bit longer today, because I had my daughter at home and it was one of the first times I'd really left her. And so I was quite stressed as it was. And they told me, oh, they just faffed around. It went on and on and on. I had like a full bladder. I was so uncomfortable. Obviously, he had a full bladder for the test, understandably, but he was taking ages to find things. And that's when it became really apparent that he was kind of a student. And again, I don't mind, but maybe not that day, to be honest, because I was in a rush. And then they couldn't see something was unclear. So they asked me to go for a walk. I went for a walk. And I'd kind of or they asked me to go to the toilet. I can't remember. Go to the toilet, go for a walk, something like that. I came back and I went back after 10 minutes. I opened the door and there were literally like 3 of them sitting in the room with their feet up chatting. And I was like, okay, like, I know that, and she went, oh, I said I'd come and get you. And I was like, okay, but it's been 10 minutes. I just assumed, I thought you said to come back. But anyway, and they were like, it's okay, you're here now. So I kind of went in, and then she started really like digging around, like pushing. And I said, that's actually really uncomfortable now. Like, that's quite painful. She's like, oh, sorry. Like, I was an inconvenience because they couldn't find what they wanted to find. So yeah, so that wasn't the nicest of appointments. And that was one of the only ones I had. And anyway, they told me you've got a low life placenta again, but they obviously didn't know anything about the first one. So you'll need to come back for the next one, for the 30-something week. And I was like, you're not going to come for 30 week. I didn't say that to her, but I knew in my head I didn't need it. I didn't want too many scans in the second time round. And I just didn't want to risk the, your baby's big, your baby's small thing.
Yeah.
I'm over 35 by this point. They've got my correct BMI this time. Actually, they didn't even ask for a weight. in that pregnancy at all. They didn't weigh me or anything. Um, so yeah, everything was great. It was really good. And apart from that, like I say, and then came towards the end of pregnancy. I just had a like 8-month-old, 9-month-old. So, you're just pregnant with a baby. You don't really put as much emphasis as you did with the first onto everything. But everything was really healthy. And then I started getting the my midwife came. I must have been about 30 weeks, maybe 28 weeks, and she came round and she said, just to let you know, the you've become on the radar of the obstetrician. She said some stuff's flagged up on the system. She was like, and she said, because you've got potentially a low-lying placenta, you haven't had many bloods. You haven't obviously had the GD test, and your last baby was small for dates. You flagged up to them, and I was like, I don't get this because my first baby, it kind of slipped my memory. She was 6'2", so perfectly fine, healthy. Her dad's petite. She was petite. She was fine. She didn't even lose weight, I don't think, after she was born. She just gained. There was no, she just happened to come out a little bit small, and there was a layer of fat. She was healthy, but anyway, straight after she was born, the midwife had actually called me. She's gone back to the hospital and she put all the stuff in, and she called me and she said, just to let you know, the system's flagging up that she is a small for dates baby. And she was like, they would probably like you to come in and get her checked. She said, happy to vouch for the fact that I've checked her and I think she's fine. She doesn't need to be seen by a doctor. She's healthy. She's feeding. And she was like, but I have to obviously give you the option. And I said, no, it's fine. So that completely slipped my mind. So this time round, apparently, she's small for dates. To me, she was on the 9th centile. So in my head, that's not small because it's on a centile, right? The whole point of the 1 to 100 is that's average.
But there's also people who naturally birth small babies
Yeah,
naturally, that they gain on a trajectory of weight, but they're always on a small care pathway.
yeah.
It's
And
like you're not allowed to have a baby less than 7 pounds or more than 8 pounds nowadays.
basically.
Yeah.
I think that's literally it.
Yeah.
And she, yes, like I say, she was big keeper. Her dad is quite slight. And,
Um,
I wasn't, I'd carried small all the way through. But the funny thing was, and that's what makes me laugh when I look back on it, is, when I actually went to the 30s, whatever week scan, they said she was fine
mm,
and she was big. But I knew she wasn't, not big. They said she was average weight, but I
yeah,
knew she was small
yeah,
because I was small. I knew she was going to be little. I knew she'd be born small. So again, that was just like, it's just funny when you look at it.
yeah.
Anyway, so then she said, so you got all these things. She said, I know you haven't got all these things. She was like, but it's flagged on their system and they would like to speak to you. They've tried to call you. And I'd actually changed my number and only given it to my midwife. Um,
Good
and she
move.
said, oh, yeah, I didn't want to be scared by people. And to be honest, it wasn't done on purpose. But when I realized it, I thought, no, just leave it. They don't need my number. She's got it. She's the most important person. So that's fine. Um, So yeah, she said, she'd like to speak to you. She said she tried to call you 3 times, and she said I told her that it's probably best to email you, and she wants to know if that's okay. I said, yeah, you can tell her she can email me. That's fine. Um, so no, this must have been quite a bit later than that. Actually, it was quite late, 30-something weeks.
Mm,
So after all of this, she's all panicking and this, that, and the other, and she literally it took like over a week for anyone to get in contact with me. And she sends me this big long email about why I should have the tests. I should have, because I'd said no to the scan because I had a low lying placenta at 20 weeks, but I declined the scan. And that was another thing that happened as well. So prior to this, about 30 weeks, I called to cancel the 30 whatever week scan. I said, I don't feel like I need it. I had a low-lying placenta in my first birth. I gave birth. It was fine. I believe the same thing's going to happen again. I'm not bothered about it. If I feel I haven't had any symptoms, obviously, there might be signs and symptoms, but I've had no bleeding. I've got no symptoms of it like being an issue. So I'm not worried and I don't want the scan. And she actually said to me on the phone, I don't think I can do that. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I can't cancel your scan. Has to be, midwife has to cancel it. And I said, well, I'm not coming. So and she said, well, I'll go and speak to a midwife. And I said, that's fine. You can do that. But I've already spoken to my home birth midwife and we've discussed it at length and she's not worried. And she was like, well. And they put the phone down on me.
No, charming. You mean you're
Yeah.
not doing what she wants again?
No,
Yes, what's the
no.
matter with you?
And this is a receptionist. This is not a midwife or anything. This is literally the receptionist. And she could not compute. She went, I don't think I can do that. I can't cancel it. I don't think it will let me. And I said, she went, she said, I've never had anyone cancel this appointment before.
Well, now you have. Better learn
Yeah,
how to cancel scans, babe.
exactly. And to press the button or whatever you need to do. So anyway, so this obviously, I think that was what it was when she put the phone down. I think she went to the midwife in the hospital, who I've never seen, who then went to an ob or whatever. So yeah, so they emailed me this big long thing about how I had a first baby that was small for dates, second centile they called her, which she wasn't,
Yeah.
and they wrote her weight wrong, which wasn't. And then they said, you know, you haven't had any blood tests, so we don't know if your iron is low. So we'd be so we'd be worried that you might hemorrhage, and if you hemorrhage, then we'd prefer you to be in the labour ward. Because your baby is small and you might have a low-lying placenta, you might be more likely to bleed. So basically, all these things are just so desperate to get me to come in. You know, if you have this, you can still go on the birth centre if you have this bit, but we recommend you have the scan. And if it shows a low-lying placenta, then you'd be better. And then you might need an induction. And it was like these 3 points of things. And, you know, if your baby's small, you might need an induction. So then you would be on the labour ward, and then you would, then we would give you CTG, and literally outlining the induction train, like
Yeah.
the cascade of interventions. It's pure as day to me. And I was like, so I had,
Thanks.
so I had hired a doula. Exactly. I had a doula anyway, right
Who did you
from
have?
quite early on. Nat.
Oh, Lush.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lush.
So Nat your doula was my doula,
Yeah.
and she was just fab. So everything I had I kind of just, and it did get me a little bit. I had said to
Yeah,
her, like,
I
what
call
are
it
the
a
things?
teaspoon of fear. I've done
Yeah.
a little Instagram on it. I don't know if you've seen it. And it like Jaws. Duh, duh,
Yeah.
duh, 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 duh.
Exactly.
Teaspoon
Yeah.
of fear, a teaspoon of fear, and then you end up with
Yes.
a pile of shit. And it's a bit like having a GTT. You know, like when they give you all
Yeah.
that sugar all in one go, like too much
Yep.
sugar's bad for you. Too
Yeah.
much fear is bad for you.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
keep spooning it into you in your
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
Horrible. I hate
When you're already so vulnerable and you just
it.
want to be positive, you
Yeah.
want to relax, you want to be happy, and it is scary. Like, I was, really nervous about having 2 babies. I was, again, had a great first labour, so I wasn't nervous about that at all. But you have other anxieties, you've got
Yeah.
other stuff. And am I giving my first baby enough? Is it going to be,
Am I gonna
how
cope?
are we going to
I'm
cope?
gonna
How are we,
juggle all
I've
of
got
it.
all of that going on. And then I've got to argue with a woman on the phone to cancel a fucking scan appointment. I mean, like,
Better life,
don't,
lads.
yeah, exactly. And it's like you say, they were they. But we will still fully support your thingy to have a home birth, but we do think you should have all these things first. And I was just like, anyway. So then the home birth team said to me they have got a really small amount of available rota because they're not getting enough support, they're not getting enough this, they're not getting enough that. So she said, she was like, I'm so sorry, but the likelihood of us actually being on call when you give birth is not that
Yeah,
high. And she did say to me, like, she was like, if you give birth and there's no one on the call rota, if you want to, just give me a call anyway. If I can, I'll come. She was like, but basically she could only do that because she's like the head of the team. She can make that decision for herself.
yeah,
But if she's able to, but the likelihood was that there wouldn't be anyone on call.
yeah.
Um, and she was like, but I know you. She was like, I know it's not going to change your mind anyway about home birth. And I was like, no, it's definitely not. I've done it before without anyone there. It's not a big thing. And then so me and Nat were like fully kind of preparing, well, me and like my family, my partner and that, but we were preparing for like for potential free birth from there, from the beginning anyway, to be honest. I wasn't sure, even though was wonderful, beautiful, lovely midwife, I adore her. I wasn't really sure if I needed the extra people around anyway. Um, I just was like, we know that we've got her for afterwards. She doesn't need, I might not even need her to come to the birth. So just planned and prepared for it. And then, is there anything else before? So yeah, so I kind of went to Nat and I said to Nat, like, what are the reasons, that we would go for a transfer if needed? We don't have a midwife. And we talked about hemorrhaging, and we talked about a couple of other things. But we kind of went through everything that I was a bit worried about. Um, and talked about how, like, we might move it naturally, how we might release it naturally, what we might do. She talked to me about like she said to me something, I think shepherd's purse, which I'd not heard of before, and she said get some of that. So we've got that for bleeding if you need something, but the placenta usually will, cutting the placenta might work. And so we kind of we had really good, like, naturalistic plans in place of things. So it wasn't, it wasn't like just going in eyes closed. There was a lot of awareness and a lot of planning to what complications might happen. We weren't expecting any, but if there was, what might be. I wasn't worried about the small baby thing at all. But yeah, and I did say to her, she wrote me this amazing letter, email to write back to them, which was fantastic. But I never got to use it because then I went into labour.
Oh.
So literally, it took them so bloody long to write me this email explaining to me why I should go in. By the time they sent me the email, 2 days later, I had a baby. So, they literally tried to put this fear in. And by the time I even got round to, addressing it, I was in labour. I was nearly in labour. So yeah. So again, just carried on with what I was going on with my life. Went out, had some lunch with my mum again and my daughter. Came home and I was like, oh, and everyone, and this is funny. So in my first labour, everyone said to me, "You've got loads of time because it's your first labour." Well, the second one, everyone said to me, "You're going to be fast. You're likely to be fast because your first labour was so fast." Yeah, no, he decided to be a little faff off.
Yeah.
So into
Well,
labour.
I think that if
Yeah.
you have quite a quick labour the first time, sometimes because you're anticipating that your second one can be a bit protracted.
Right. I think that's exactly what happened. It
Mm.
was the opposite. So we kind of, I felt definitely like it was again at night. It was in the evening, from between 2 and 4 a.m. On the Monday morning. Um, I oh no, it wasn't. It was a Sunday. Yeah, the Monday morning, and I was kind of like, like this is a bit ouchy. There's a bit pain. What's going on? Um, really felt like they were not quite close together, but they were maybe every 2 to 4 minutes or something. So they were, they were contractions. Still, again, though, nothing on the belly, nothing at all, no pain, no tightenings, all down low, loads of pressure. And then they stopped about 4 o'clock in the morning and just went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning, and at the time I'd been texting that. And I said, I think I'm losing a bit of my mucus plug and blah, blah, blah. So it might be happening tonight. And yeah, between 2 and 4, they got stronger and stronger. And then at 4 o'clock, they just kind of stopped. And I think it was July. So I think it started getting light. And I think my body just went, you've got your daughter. You've got the day's coming.
Mhm.
I don't want to have this baby in the day with so much going on. I'm not relaxed enough. So just stopped. And I was like, oh, that's a bit rude. thought I'd have a baby by the morning. So stopped. And I just kind of had like a normal day at home. Both my parents came round on the Monday. And they took my daughter out. So she had someone, so my partner could just like focus on last bits of tidying and then just being with me. And I really, really tried so hard not to be like, come on, let's go, let's get this out.
Yeah.
I was just, relax. I really tried to it was hard. I
Yeah.
have to admit, it was really hard. And I was still getting these twinges, like it did fully stop until like the morning, but then the morning I was just getting these like tightenings, just little bits of things going on and stuff happening, mucus plug losing, all of this. And then it came and I was kind of going to, I don't know when to get you to come over. I don't want you just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, but we were worried because obviously my first labour was really fast once it gets to that sort of transition time. Um, and then it came towards the evening and my partner made me like a big fat bowl of salad and I had like a very small glass of red wine. It was like that much red wine and loads of water.
Just
And I
enough.
had, yeah, just a tiny, just something to, just because I felt like I really needed just like a little relax, a little something. It's just like loads of like, it was basically wine juice. Like topped up with red water, with red wine. And I put on a funny program, funny film, put my blue light blocking glasses back on. And that was what I kind of think brought it back. It was getting back to the evening, it was dusky. And that was about 7 o'clock, started coming back again. And I hadn't planned like a birth pool. My house doesn't really have the size for it. And also I just thought, again, because my first day was fast, we were all expecting the second one to be fast. Oh, we're not going to have time to fill it up. There's no point. So I
Mm.
just didn't think about that. And yeah, I was just walking around and loads of like swaying and candles and smelling oils. I had like Clarisse sage under my nose and like lavender, and I made up some like oils and stuff like that. This was about, I think this was 5 days before my due date. So it was kind of coming to it. Again, I wasn't like huge. I didn't carry huge with him either. Um, and then I went down into the bathroom because I had in my head that the bathroom I felt so safe for the first time. But this time I kind of actually really, really didn't as much. I think it's a different house. Bathroom's a bit smaller.
Mm.
My cat wasn't there. And I didn't really, wasn't the same. It's just interesting to think when even I, who had had this completely unexpected labour and don't really believe in, I believe whatever unfolds, but even I had in my head it would be similar,
Mm.
had this thing in my head and it's just so wasn't. It was just so different, so
Mm.
different. It was long, it was slow. I mean, it wasn't long, but it was slow. But when it got to the end, it was very quick. So it got to about 7, I think, and that came round. And she said she heard me change. I was in the bathroom, and me and my partner were like laughing and joking. And when she got there, she stayed with my mum in the living room, and they were kind of like, she was like, "I heard you laughing," and then I heard you literally just switch from laughing to being like, "Oh," to like the low groans.
I feel that there was that was like a contraction came and you just suddenly went, whoa. Because
Yeah.
I've had 5 babies and there's always like a particular contraction. Like
Yes. It's like
like
something
I
gives
only
way
had one.
almost, isn't it?
Yeah, I only had one contraction with my son when I went into labour, and I was like, this baby's going to come in an hour. Like
Wow.
literally, like I had one contraction, and I'd had a bit of a like beforehand, a couple of days where he'd started and stopped and started and stopped.
Yeah.
And then I just woke up, had a contraction. I was like, right, we're on. And it was a completely different thought process.
Isn't it so mad? I think it's so wonderful. And I think it's so important why people should really listen to good, nice, natural birth stories in, preparation for labor or pregnancy, because everyone's is so different.
Mm.
Like, every person's labors are different, and even every child is different. Like, it's just so interesting how different people labor differently, how different babies labor differently. And yeah, and I think it's so important for people to do that, to
Mm.
listen, and just those uplifting stories as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a wonderful thing to talk about and
Yeah.
to have, you know, different, it's just lovely. And
That's
it's
why I'm doing this
individual.
podcast, because I
Yeah,
just want to hear women's stories so that people
yeah,
begin to understand that we all get through it, however we
yeah,
get through it. We're all
mhm,
really strong and brave and warrior women. Our
yeah,
journeys are so different. And part of that journey is different. Like I've had 5 children. I've had 5 different births, but I've also had 5 children with 5 massively different personalities.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
why isn't that an influence in the birthing room? I
Absolutely.
absolutely think it is.
Yes,
Mm.
and I think my daughter's now she's just turned 2, and her birth is such a massive part of who she is. Like, I feel like it, whether it's from the whether it's whatever it is, it's like a mixture, isn't it? Of, before they were born, they already had that in them, but also how their birth shapes them and how after the birth shapes them, and it just you can just it if you met her and you heard the story, you would just know that was her story. You would put that to her. She's a little firecracker. Like, she's quick, she's fast, she's off the mark. Like, she's an Aries, so she was born as an Aries sun, Aries rising, and that is what she is. And she was born like that, and she's strong. She knows what she wants in life, and whereas my son he's slower. He's more. He's quite sensory, he's quite tactile, he's quite, slow in his methodical, and he's not
Quite
methodical.
attentive about things. Yeah,
Yes,
like, I
yeah,
wanna test it gently before I decide whether or not it's something I wanna do.
and sometimes it might upset him a little bit. He might have a little moan, and he was born like that. I think so. Things came a bit slower for him, and it is, and you watch them, and it's such a part of like who they are, and it's just crazy that that's been sort of taken away in some ways for some people, but because they're in, it's got so much trauma around it, they don't maybe even necessarily put that together. Whatever kind of birth you have, like, I think if it's empowering, it's important for everyone. But anyway, so I moved into the living room, laboured on the birth pool for quite a while. I did move quite differently, I think, than I did in my first labour. I was on the birth pool quite a lot, but it was a lot more painful. I do remember thinking, "Shit, this is." Like, I think because my first one was so quick and I was in quite a lot of shock, and she was quite small, and she did just kind of come out, and it did feel like one day I was pregnant and the next day I wasn't, and the baby was just there. With him, I think it shocked me at how it was like, oh wow, had I have been, in hospital, I'd probably been asking for an epidural at that point. But I didn't call the midwives because there was no one on call on the sheet. I knew I could have called her, but I thought, you know what, I'm not going to. I don't need to. Um, and we, I remember saying there was a point when I said something doesn't feel right. I was saying, oh, this hurts, oh, it's painful. And I did. Then there was something in the back of my head that went, this. I was trying so hard not to compare and not to be like, this is work, this is different, so it's not wrong. But there was something that I did say in the back of my head. I said, there's so much pressure, but nothing's happening. And I was like, I feel like nothing's happening, something don't feel right, and that something's not right. And like I say, it was so hard for me at that point to decipher whether that woman had got in my head and there was fine, or whether there was something. And that was like, okay, why don't we try the peanut ball? So she got the peanut birth ball and I lay on my side. And once that happened, oh my goodness, like, it was like a relief pain. It was really odd. It was like a huge pain, but it came with the relief where it felt like it just opened something. And from then I just moved again. Like, literally, I only did that for like 2 minutes, and then not even 2 minutes. And I was like, right, get that away from me. That's done its job. It moved. And then something, and then he was just coming, and I felt it. I was like, yeah, it's definitely going to be here. It's going to be here in a minute. My partner kind of stayed at the head end this time with me, like holding, like looking at me, and then I said again, I said to Nat, I was like, something, I feel like I'm pushing, nothing's come, nothing's happening. And then she had a look for me and she said, okay, your waters are bulging, so you're probably feeling that pressure. And she said to me, I was like, what do I do? She was like, we can either do nothing, or you can see if you feel comfortable to give it a feel and see if you can just like squish it and like, pop the waters. So then maybe release some of the pressure. So I did that. And I remember just thinking, this is so weird. I'm just like feeling around at this bulgy thing. And then it's mad the things you think of when you're in labour, because I remember thinking, it's a shame because I normally have my nails long, but I haven't, and I don't know if it's going to work, or maybe I won't be able to do it because I've got no nails. So so I just like broke the waters, and within like 1 or 2 pushes, his head popped out. His head popped out, and he was the wrong way round, upside down. Yep, he was.
Amazing.
So this made so much sense. Obviously, I didn't know Nat didn't say anything to me. Obviously, she was just kind of like letting me do what I needed to do. So she didn't say it, but he popped out. I don't remember her saying it anyway. I don't think she did. So he came out and he was literally his head was out and he was crying.
Mm.
He was like, "Whoa." And then she said, I think it took a little few pushes for the shoulders to come. It
Mm.
didn't come straight away. Um, so he kind of came out and, was looking at the floor or whatever. And then a couple of pushes and then the rest of him just kind of came out.
Mm.
Um, I think Nat got him and just gave him straight to me, and that was it. He just
Oh,
came on to me, and yeah. So she actually didn't tell me that he was back to back until a little while later, and I'm really glad actually because I think that would have made me start questioning stuff and thinking, "Oh, that was really painful," and
yeah,
start focusing on it because
yeah,
obviously I started researching and looking. Oh, that's why it was painful. Oh, yeah, that was. Whereas I didn't really focus so much on anything. I just once he was here, I forgot that
yeah.
it was quite painful. Um, and then everything was perfect.
Little
Again,
stargazer.
it's perfect. Yes, exactly.
Walk
He is,
around with that quite a bit.
and he does.
Mm.
And that as soon as from when he was really little, he's always looked in the sky. I call
Mm.
him my little star boy
Yeah,
because he just loves the stars and he
yeah.
loves the sky.
They are
So
little
yeah,
stargazers.
it's so interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
And
Yeah. And
but I'm really grateful.
so that's
Sorry.
why your second labour was a little bit longer as well, because he was
Yes.
really trying to navigate that. "Oh,
Hmm.
how am I gonna do this?" Because it's for them, it's like potholing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They kind of
Yeah.
feel like they've got to get in one way, and probably he wasn't too big. How big was he?
He was nearly 7 pounds,
Yeah,
so 6'12" or something.
yeah.
So yeah, he wasn't
So,
huge.
probably a good job really. It'd have been more intense if it'd have been a 9
Yes.
pounder.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. And I think again, like that's the other thing I think we don't think about enough. Like it's such a massive again like contradiction, isn't it? Because we don't think about the women enough. We don't give the women enough credit, but we also then don't think about the baby because nobody thinks about the fact that the baby's just gone through this crazy journey. It's like everything's done to the baby and the mother, but it's not. It's like you literally go through it together with your child, with your baby. Like they're doing just as much as you are, and that's not comfortable for them either. They've just been squeezed through a pelvis. Like, it's it's a pretty amazing job that they do themselves, and whatever way they come out, they come out, and he's done a good bloody job. And
Yeah. And it is
he was,
interesting that, we're not really, I mean, I talk a lot with women about connecting with their baby and how the baby is part of their life already. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this with both of your children, but when your partner comes home when you're pregnant and you get all excited and you chat and you talk about your day, especially when you've gone on mat leave and you've probably spent quite a considerable amount of time on your own in the day, and then your partner comes in and you're like, "What have you done today?" and asking questions, and you're sitting eating a meal together. And then when the baby's born, you kind of think that you've fed and watered them and they're all ready and you're going to sit down and have a meal with your partner. And then they wake up and you're like, well, I've done everything. They're fed, they're watered. I can't understand what's,
yep,
but they were part of that process when you were pregnant,
yep.
and they still want to join in it
Oh my
while
God,
they're
yeah.
born. And they
Yep.
might not actually want feeding. They just want to be at the table with you, sharing this
Yeah.
interaction because of
Mhm.
the love that you admit at that point. And
Yeah.
so when women are being fed teaspoons of fear, as much as that lands in them as a real challenge, it lands on their baby.
Hmm.
And you then release cortisone, and then that has a huge impact on how they think they're coming out into a scary world.
Yeah.
And we need to be teaching
Yeah.
these women and babies that they're coming out into a beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
it's so true. And I think, and especially, if their first moments of actually being in the world are fearful, and, the first thing they see is their mom scared. Like, that's the first thing the person you were literally just part of is scared of something. So you need to be scared.
Mm.
So, of course, but yeah, and it's just, yeah, it's so true. And it's so important to remember that they are little people with little feelings and little thoughts and little futures.
Yeah.
And it's just it is lovely, like you say, when you look at, like, you've had 5, like, and you've got all those different stories, and you just look at them, and you can connect that bit, the pregnant, even, when you're pregnant, you kind of think what your child's going to be like, and they are. My daughter, when I was pregnant, she moved around a lot, and I knew she'd be a little fidget, and I knew she'd be, like, busy, and and she's just exactly how I imagined. And so is my boy. Like, he was slower, he was calmer. Um, and he and then when he did come out, he did moan. Like, he did do quite a big old scream to have been born, and he does like a little moan, you know? So, yeah, he still likes to moan.
You know what? My last pregnancy, I was 45, and I cried quite a lot in my pregnancy. Not because I was unhappy with being pregnant, but I cried a lot because I was like 45, thinking, "Oh my God, I'm having another baby. I'm 45," and
Yeah, yeah.
it was a bit overwhelming. He cried every day for 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm sure it's because I cried every day for
Yeah,
10 months that I was pregnant.
yeah. Yeah, he had that. Oh, no, my son might be like that. He likes to cry.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's quite incredible how they mirror
yeah,
like, your journeys and things like that.
yeah. Yeah, it's so true. But yeah, then he was born and everything was fine.
Mm.
He fed very quickly. Because just as I gave birth, then he literally came out, he was on me. He was perfect. Like, he was awake, he was alert, he was, everything great. And my mum sort of just shouted down. I was like, "Can we come down now?"
Yeah.
Because it had been just me, my partner, and that. And then my mum, my dad, and my daughter were upstairs, and my daughter was just not going to sleep. She didn't want to go to sleep. This was like, he was born at 10 to 11. So he probably, realistically was only about 4 hours in full labor, really. Everything before that was just,
Yeah.
like, lead up
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Correct.
Yeah, so they came down, and my daughter, bless her, had obviously been out without me for quite a while, and she just ran straight over.
Mm.
She jumped on the boob. He was on the other boob, and they were it was just lovely. I was just sitting there like this, like, it's like, with one baby on one side, one on the other. And not long after that, next contraction, the placenta came out.
Yeah.
And it was all really, really quick. However, then the only thing that did then happen was everything was okay, and my daughter kind of finished, and my partner picked her, held her, and put her to sleep. And then I stood up to just, like, go to the toilet and that. And as I stood up, there was quite a big gush of blood. And it was quite a lot of blood. It's like snap back and nuts. So she reckoned probably about 500 mils, probably on that mark. And I did go quite pale. I went quite cold. I went quite shaky. And there's a little bit of fear in my head, because that was one of the things I was worried about. Again, probably only because the woman had said it to me. But I I straight away was like, "Okay, right, what did we say about this?" And Nat was like, "Right, shall we get your placenta? Should we get your cord cut in a second, so you can have a little bit of your placenta? I can clean it. You can have a little bit of that. In the meantime, should we get you some?" And I was like, "Okay, right." She was like, "To warm you up, let's put the heating on." I mean, it's July, so she was like, "Let's put the heating on, chuck your load of blankets on you." And then I was like, "Okay, right, yep, get me some coconut water, get me a bone broth." So between us all, we all just kind of, like, rallied round, warmed me up, like, literally, like, chucked a load of stuff on me. Um, got me like a big, like, liter, just sat there, drink my coconut water. I had a bit of a flapjack. I had some bone broth, and then that just we cut the cord. Once I kind of felt a little bit better, I still felt a little bit chilly, a little bit on edge, but I was okay. Cut the cord, and then she went and prepared my placenta, and then made me a big placenta smoothie,
Mm.
and I drank it, and I was fine.
Yeah.
Like, I was just absolutely fine. Like, it was a little scare for a second for me, but it was like, "It's okay, it's fine. Like, it happens. You lose blood. There's extra blood to lose." I wasn't still bleeding or anything.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was either Kemi I spoke to or Nat that said, like, it was probably just kind of sitting there where I hadn't moved, and then when I stood up, like, quite a bit came out. Um, but yeah, and he just kind of sorted me out, and, like, having a doula there who knew what to do was just, didn't panic or anything. She just was like, "Yep, we can do this. It's fine." Like, and then she checked a few times, "You feeling okay? How you been? Is it going?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's gone. I'm all right now." And then
Mm.
we all got into bed and went to
Yeah.
sleep. And, all 4 of us slept in my big, huge bed, and it was just lovely.
Yeah, it makes a difference if you have the right people around you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely. You know,
yeah.
and I think that as when birth got moved from the home to the hospital, it was to wrench the woman away from the community.
Yeah.
And like, if we lived in a different place and space now, more women birthing at home, you would have had an army of women around you
Mm.
waiting to. I mean, fortunately for you, you had Nat there and your mum there and all the rest of it, but you would have
Yeah.
this lineage of women that would be managing to swoop in
Mhm.
and give you that sort of strength, hope, and courage to keep you going.
Exactly, and it's all you need.
Yeah, and we're having to be warrior women on our own a lot more now, um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being quite selective of the people that we allowed in because they have to be on the same wavelength.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
if you're
Yeah.
choosing to have a birth and you're choosing to free birth and you're choosing to even just have a home birth with the view that potentially there's a strong possibility it's going to end as a free birth,
Yep.
the chances of you getting a midwife are quite minuscule now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to be able to step into that power and know that there's an army of women that are going to be there for
Yeah.
you in a case
You
of
do.
need,
You
isn't it?
do. Yeah, and it's so wonderful to have that, and, like, just to know that it is okay and you will be alright, and it just the body is the relaxation that it brings to your body is what allows you to give birth. Like, literally, there's just the knock on, and what allows you to have those wonderful first moments and however long it needs to be is just oh, my little Talia. Sorry, I'm just gonna
So
Talia.
she's looking for a mummy.
Yeah, he's fine.
Mm.
He's
Yeah, she's at that age
he's
though,
9
isn't
months,
she?
she's 2.
Yeah,
See,
when they're
Baba.
about to,
See,
they
Baba.
suddenly recognise that mums aren't around all the time, and it's like,
Yeah,
where are you? Why aren't you here?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it is a
that's
funny,
so
funny time. I think
yeah,
also as well, just sort of quickly, it's like less 40% of women are choosing to have a home birth. Okay. That's kind of when they start their pregnancy journey, that's what they want.
yeah.
Less than 1% of people get it.
It's crazy.
It's mad, isn't it? And the only reason why were able to potentially get the home births that you want is first there was a BBA, and the
Yeah,
second was that you had a doula there.
yeah, oh, 100%. Yeah,
Because had you not had Nat there, then it would
yeah,
be, mate, you'd have rung them and they'd have said, oh, you need to come in.
yeah,
And
yeah, because
if Nat hadn't
yeah.
been there, that would have meant you would have had to birth on your own again.
And I don't think we would have been in a place to do that. This is exactly it. I would have felt I had my daughter then. She was little, so I had to have people looking after her. So
Yeah.
my mum wouldn't have been with me, she would have been with my daughter. And my partner then would have been with the only one with me. And I'm not sure, especially in those last bits, those last little bits where, my waters were bulging and that could have got quite dramatic. It
Mm.
could have been because he wouldn't have known to get a spiky peanut, like, do you know what I mean? To get a peanut ball to put me between my legs, as wonderful as, he was and did birth prep, that in those moments wouldn't have come into his head and it probably wouldn't have come into mine. So actually, like you say, exactly the fact that I had her there was exactly what I needed,
Yeah.
was those little touches that made huge differences to the labour just unfolding naturally and beautifully,
Yeah.
because you can't do everything some women probably can, but most women probably can't think of everything and do everything in labour. You do need a little bit of support, but
You
you
need
need
the
the right
wise woman
support.
there, don't you?
Yeah,
Which is what
yeah,
Nat is. And I feel it's
yeah,
so sad the way that birth is now presented to women as a fear,
mm,
frightening, screening, blood testing, you can't do it without us, everything on the outside, instead of actually listening to you, the woman where the baby's
yeah.
growing inside.
It's crazy. It is crazy. It's just scary, and I just hope, like, and I think I said it to Kemi and Nat that actually, sadly, that there was even me like sharing my story. There was so many people who weren't like, impressed. No, no, not impressed. I'm not looking for people to be impressed in
Yeah.
a million years.
I
I'm
know
not.
what you
I'm
mean.
not sharing it for that. I genuinely, I'm really happy. I'm just really happy it happened, and I also genuinely really want other people to know you can do it. Like, I am not the most assertive person in the world. I can be. Don't get me wrong. I really can be. But generally, I have been in a lot of situations where people have said in authoritative, places, do this, do that, and I've probably done things, a lot more things than I would have been comfortable with in terms of, testing. I probably didn't want any of the tests really. It took me a big journey to get to that point, and honestly, I still couldn't say that I still would say now, after 2 labours at home without anyone medical around me, if I was in a situation where there was medical people, I 100% probably would still go, "Oh, okay then. Oh, all right then." So I'm not sitting here saying like, "You just have to say no to everything and it'll be fine, and, you can do it. If I can do it, anyone can." I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like, you can do it, you can do birth. Birth is not this big, horrible, scary thing it's been made out to be. It's wonderful, and it's a rite of passage, and it's like, it's not, no, it is not easy, it is not, but it is doable. It's very doable. Like,
Yeah.
you can do it, and it doesn't have to be scary, and,
And we're
it's
socially
not.
conditioned into thinking it's scary. Like
Yeah.
I commented on somebody's Instagram post where they were commenting about a woman who had BBA, and the dad is seen as the hero because he
Yeah.
received the baby, and it was
Yeah.
like, well, she couldn't.
Oh, it happened to me. It definitely happened to me, like,
And it's
so
like
many times.
the woman is the hero in all of this. She is the
Yeah.
one that has got these two cells that are naked to the human eye and created a whole human being and then
Yeah.
birthed it. You
Yeah.
can't do anything better than that.
And like, don't get me wrong, it's lovely that the dad's there and the
Yeah.
first person that the baby actually physically sees. Like, I love that my daughter and her dad have that bond. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
amazing. And I think, yeah, don't get me wrong, he did a great job of like staying calm and being present and
Yeah.
everything. But yeah, no, you can do it. Like, and it's true, the amount of people that did say afterwards, "Oh, you're gonna be a midwife, are you?" Not to me. Not am I gonna be a midwife because I'm the one that did it. To him, "Oh, you're gonna be a midwife because you delivered that baby." That's just amazing, isn't it? It's like, yeah, okay, you did do amazing, I don't get me wrong, but what am I like,
Yeah. Yeah.
pizza box or
So
so
how
yeah.
are you gonna become a doula then?
I'm not entirely sure exactly what I'm gonna do, but I am doing the push comes to shove training and
Are
push comes
you?
to shove training.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you'd be incredible.
I
Absolutely incredible at doing that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what I want to do with it, but I know that I want to do something.
Mm.
I just 100%, I want all the knowledge as well. I wanna know everything. I'm so, like, I
Eager.
just love it. Just
Mm.
love it. But I also have, like, a crystal business, and I do astrology and stuff, so kind of just gonna see where it takes me, and if it takes me somewhere I can integrate it all together,
Yeah.
then, yeah, I would find that. But I don't know. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely doing something. Doing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I think you would be incredible, and I think your
Thank
birth
you.
experiences themselves put you in a place where you'll be able to honour that space and
Yeah,
recognise those
yeah,
sorts of, the empower women to be their empowerful, worrying woman self.
yeah.
Because I think you will
Yeah.
be. We
You
just
just don't know what you can do until you do it. I think
no,
that's the thing. You don't,
no.
but if you have the faith and the trust in your body and your baby, and you just do it, you can surprise yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Well, I think it does. Like I've always said this, that when I meet pregnant women, I find their pregnancy trajectories them onto a pathway that they never thought they were going to go on. So,
Absolutely.
like for myself, um, when I had my second pregnancy, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Now that took me on a journey of not having chemotherapy and opening up a whole
Wow.
new way of thinking for me in terms of believing in yourself, how your mind is the thing that
That's
governs where
amazing.
your journey and you travel. And, I think therefore I am and all of this. And it completely
Mhm,
opened up. And although I worked 30 years within an NHS system, I was constantly challenging that. Going, there's
mhm.
more to this than this. There is other ways of thinking, being, believing.
Yeah. Did you have to challenge that quite a lot with the cancer diagnosis as well?
Oh God,
Was
I got told by my oncologist. She said, when I said to her, "Look, I don't want to have chemo." My mum at the time was having chemotherapy because she wasn't well,
Mm,
and I was seeing what it was happening to her. And I
yeah.
was saying, "Look, I'm pregnant. I don't want to have chemotherapy whilst I'm pregnant." And she
Mhm.
went, "Are you stupid?" I went, "No, I'm just really scared. I
Oh,
don't
no, I'm
want
pregnant
to have
as well.
gone through something. I'll have it afterwards." That was my initial, "I'll have it afterwards when I've given birth."
Yeah.
So they induced me at 36 weeks. Well, after that, I swore I'd never be induced again.
Yeah.
And then after I'd given birth to her, my mum was dying and she wanted to go home to see her mum. So I said, "Look, let me breastfeed for 6 weeks and take my mum home to see her mum. And
Yeah.
then I'll think, when I come back." And on the way back, I found a book called Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Own Life.
Yeah.
Completely changed my whole thought processes and what I was going to do. And
Yeah.
that was it. I went in, I said, "I'm not having it." They were like, "What?" I went, "Not at all now.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to heal myself."
That's amazing. Did you do it? Did you
Yeah,
do
well,
it?
I went on and had 3 more children, so I did all right.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's just and it's things like that as well. I mean, obviously, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but I know someone who is going through something similar with cancer and not done what the treatment plan suggested.
Mm.
And it just is amazing what you can do with your own body when you trust it
Well,
and
it's
work with
the
it.
power of the mind, isn't it? And I
Mhm.
think, like, in terms of pulling that back into your story, the power of your mind, all these teaspoons of fear that people
Yeah.
kept feeding you, but you kept
Yeah.
your mind, you stayed in your line and
Yeah.
kept your mind clear.
Yeah.
And every time that creep of fear came in, you were able to, like, go, "No, that's not what I wanna think and believe. I wanna stay in my lane, I wanna stay in my lane." And you
Yeah.
absolutely did that. And
Yeah.
that enabled you to
Yeah.
create these 2 wonderful miracle birth babies and
Yeah.
birth them in a beautiful way. Well,
And they are happy like babies, like, I'm not and again, I don't say these things to brag, I'm not trying to brag, I'm not but I won't have people tell me I'm lucky. I'm not lucky. I
no.
did the work, and do you know what? Like, my babies, I breastfed both of them, and I understand for a lot of people, some people that doesn't happen as they want it to. And I'm not trying to shove it in anyone's face. I'm not trying to, say I've had so much, oh, you're just lucky. Oh, you're just like, oh, some people can't do this, Some people can't. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I'm not trying to say that you should do the impossible. Like, I'm just saying, this will help. Like, every little decision that you make and every little thing that you try, that you stick to yourself with and you go with nature with, will help in other things. My kids, I've managed to have a 2-year breastfeeding journey with my daughter, and
Mm.
tandem fed both of them, which is the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. Like, honestly, I can't even, like, I'm still doing it now. And my daughter decided after he was born that she's freaking exclusively breastfed. She's stopped eating.
Well, they do.
And
They
yeah,
do.
and
You know,
and it
they
just,
revert back and they want to feel that held safeness
yes,
again. And as a
I know.
mother, that's all you can do is do that again for them.
Exactly. And then you have this fight with, I should be doing this and I should be doing that and I should be doing this, but I'm just sitting here feeding babies, and you're doing the most amazing thing you can do. And it's just, and then you get other people go, "Oh, well, you could just give them a bottle, like, can you? What are you here? What, you want a medal?" And it's like, no, I don't. I'm not trying to do this. I'm not doing this for myself. I'm not trying to prove and be a hero. I'm just saying it's doable. You can do it. Like, it's hard. These things are not easy, but what you will get, like, if you have that faith, and what you will get in the long run is just so much more. My physically, like, I was pretty good, after birth, because I had, like, that natural relaxing chilled birth. I was able to get up and do stuff, and my kids have physically been so healthy, and I don't have those. We haven't had loads of challenges, but we haven't had challenges as much with their health, and we haven't had to do this and we haven't had to do that, and it's not luck, it's design.
Yeah.
Like,
Brilliantly
it
said. Brilliantly
yeah.
said. Yeah. Well, honestly, I've loved listening to that. And do you know what's also fascinated me about listening to your stories is the detail. These events we don't do very much in our life. We don't give birth very
No.
much. I mean, I know I've had 5 babies.
Yeah.
I remember the details of those 5 births, like, as clear as anything.
Yes.
And it is just the most profound moment, most profound day of your life.
Yeah, it
Mm.
really is.
It's absolutely incredible, and you remembered so many details of that journey. It's so honourable. I'm really
And it's
feel
just
honoured.
lovely to have. Yeah, but do you know what's so lovely as well is that there's people out there like you who are giving women a platform to talk about it because in general life, we've just spoke for like 2 hours, but no one wants to sit and hear it for 2 hours because people have got such a, not no one, obviously people in the birth world do, and there are some people who really understand, who love listening, but like other people, generally most people don't want to hear. People like a bit of drama. They like 1 more every minute stories. They want, oh, was it 36 hours? Oh, did they have to do this? Oh, did you have, oh, yeah, so and so had that, and so had that. So when you want to just say, oh, it was great, it was wonderful, it was natural, they're like, and it's a shame. Like, it's just a shame that more people don't want to get together and, just.
Yeah, although I've found, like, one of my girlfriends says she can't wait till the next episode that I'm doing comes on
That's
because
lovely.
she loves
Yeah.
to hear different women's stories, and she's pregnant
Yeah.
at the moment, and it's just given her a bit of insight, and
Yeah.
it's enabling her to fine tune her own journey.
Absolutely.
And that's all I want, is for people to be able to say their stories. Look how different they are. Look, this is what I did
Yeah.
and this is how I cope. But fundamentally, the theme that comes through from all of these women, all of you, is your strength, determination, and
Yeah.
staying in your own lane and knowing what you want, and
Mhm.
recognizing when you're
Yeah.
being wobbled away from your pathway, how to
Yeah.
bring yourself and navigate yourself back to that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what birth that you have, if it's a C-section, like we've said before, if it's a induction, if it's, a home birth, a labour ward, or water birth, or whatever, like as long as you feel like it's how you wanted it
Yeah.
and you were able to relax and your body was relaxed and your baby was relaxed and wasn't, there was no horrific aftermath that you had to deal with because of derailment,
Yeah. Well,
really.
it's about being seen and being heard, isn't it? It's about
Yeah.
being seen and
Yeah.
saying, actually, I hear you. I see what you want. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see how we
Yeah.
can support you in that
Do what you need.
decision making.
Yeah.
And let's do that. And
Yeah.
on your journey, there were these little gems that came in and saw you and heard you. It
Yeah.
was them that
Yeah.
helped keep that together.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
all of
you,
that. I love.
Chairs. It was lovely finally
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah, such a brilliant, brilliant journey, and so much for women to gather out of there. It really is a lot of
Absolutely.
information. So,
Yeah.
um, if you're ever in Torquay, do you want to come?
I would love to.
Well, come.
I would honestly love to.
Yeah, come down. I mean, I
Yeah,
do like little mini retreats and things down here as well. So even if you want to come down and
definitely.
partake in that,
Especially now my little ones are getting a little bit bigger. They can
yeah,
be away from me a bit longer.
yeah,
So like we could like potentially go on like a little holiday and then I can come and join you for half a day or whatever.
yeah,
It'd be
yeah.
lovely.
But yeah, we'll chat a bit
Definitely.
more about seeing how we can support and accommodate that as well.
Oh, thank you. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, it'd be really good.
Lovely.
It'd be good to have you down. Thank you so much
Lovely.
for your time and your
Thank
glorious
you.
story. I've loved listening to every minute of it. It was
Thank
so
you.
brilliant. You've done such a great job, and enjoy those little miracles that you have there.
Yeah, we do. They
Mm.
are amazing.
Good.
Hard work. It's hard work, but they're amazing.